We are tonight's entertainment.
You will never find the more wretched hive of scum and villainy.
Excellent!
Hello everyone, welcome to an episode of the Movie Mania podcast, where we talk films past, present, and future. I am Sherman Trey White of Podcast Media, and joining me are the men, the myths, the legends. They can't chat for long because, well, they're having some friends for dinner. Trilbee and Bandit. Do-do-do-do.
Hello!
Hello!
The horror. The horror.
I was just in the shower and I just saw a weird silhouette behind me, and then I pulled the curtain back and it was Bandit.
Was it a great?
It was like, come back.
Wearing an old lady dressed with a steak knife.
Come back to the podcast, Trilbee. Come back.
Yeah, we missed you for a couple of weeks. It's good to have you back.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
like the Avengers. Yeah.
It was just bad circumstances. 2 weeks ago, my laptop died. Had to take it to a laptop doctor. All fine now. And then a week ago, had to make a dash up to Scotland for random purposes. But I'm back now.
Hold on. What exactly is a laptop doctor? What does that mean?
Just someone who fixes computers.
Right on. All right. I imagine he has a business card. And it's just like Jonathan Taylor, laptop doctor. Yeah, it's just a picture of a screwdriver. And that's a cool idea.
And he looks like George Clooney.
He looks like George Clooney. All right.
Now for our listeners, our thinking with this episode is we were trying to plan what we're going to do for next month, and we're like, oh, maybe we could do like a Halloween episode where it's all the holidays. But then we're like, but in October there'll be kind of more important movies to talk about, so we kind of shoved it now, even though it doesn't make a lot of sense. So it's just sort of generic horror movie episode.
I don't want to call that. I like to look at it as, this is the start of October, and we are at this point. It's October 2nd here, at least in the States. We're officially 11 days from my birthday, but whatever. But it's like it's the start of October. October is the month of horror in many sense. So why not kick it off by talking about some of our favorite horror films? That's how I looked at it, Bandit. But there you are. How have you been, Bandit? What's going on with you?
I've been very good. I the other day it was funny because I found that when you start doing YouTube like full time, it can be a little bit like, how like professional swimmers get this thing called line depression because they're just swimming in the pool all day and they're just looking at that line on the bottom of the swimming pool all day long, and it's kind of like they're in solitary confinement. So after a while they get depressed. Well, there's kind of a YouTube version of that where sometimes you have to stay out real late to finish videos, and then you sleep real late, so you end up working kind of night shift and all these weird hours, and you start turning into this weird sort of Howard Hughes kind of creep, growing your fingernails long, going whenever like the sun comes out. But I had this wonderful experience.
You're basically the old guy from What We Do in the Shadows.
Yeah, you're Peter from What We Do in the Shadows.
Yes. Peter, rest in peace, Peter.
We have to go wake up Bandit. Just him on his computer.
But it was like, so it was my usual time. I was ready to go to bed at like 5 a.m. and it was sun was coming up, and I was like, you know what? I should really start getting some exercise. I'm going to go for a walk down the street. So I go for a walk down the street, and there's like the paddock and all the cows there, and I'm like, the sun's coming up and the sun's glistening on the grass, and I'm like, it's a really nice view. You can see like the whole valley from here. And I walk up and around, and I go down sort of through the town centre, and there's like a fun run going on, and there's all kids running around. There's people like, hello, sir, and I'm like, what? And I go across, and there's like, I walk down the river, and there's like people canoeing, and I go on the other side of the river, there's like a sugar factory, and they're like burning the sugar, and like the little flakes of like soot is sort of snowing down, and I'm like, what the hell's going on? It's like, I was like, this is like a whole different town. And then he woke up. The daytime.
Yeah, I was like,
I got so used to everything being nighttime and dark. I'm like, I should start living human hours again.
I think your town's been taken over by aliens. This is to be honest with you. Oh, so you just walk around.
Are they selling Soylent Green anywhere?
Yeah, it was like something out of like Stepford Wives or whatever. Everyone's like, hello. And I'm like, oh, this town's really nice during the day.
You're like, you being so nice to me. What you put in my drink?
I'm like, stay back. I ain't got no money.
Invasion.
They're like, we're just offering you some
invasion of body snatchers. What's on the cupcakes? Is that icing? All right. No, that was your.
That was a long, boring story of.
I mean, it was. I think the moral of the story, Ben, is that you need to get out more. Like, legit.
Yeah, I really do.
Like, for
Yeah,
someone
for
who
any-
apparently watches a lot of movies, you don't get out often, do you?
No. But for any YouTubers like going full time, that's something you got to be aware of. Because quite often you need to work late, and then you finish like at midnight. Then you got to upload. That takes a couple of hours. So you can fall into that trap of essentially working night shift if you're not careful. So
Does it take you 2 hours to upload a video?
well, it depends on how long it is. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, YouTube automatically. But this is an interesting conversation. We can have this conversation later. I went to a party on Saturday. If that makes any difference, it was like this really cool like bonfire party. A bunch of teenagers standing in a circle. So you know how that goes. It was pretty fun. A lot of gay people there, but whatever. It's whatever.
I was expecting the outcome saying, so I put on a hockey mask and had my way with them. I couldn't stand to see them having fun.
They all went to sleep, and we all knew what happened next. Yes. No, not that. I killed them. There it is. Yes. No.
You beat them to death with their own sleeping bags while they were in the sleeping bags.
And then there was just a fire there, so I decided to Hannibal Lecter it, and so, it was a nice evening. Yeah, it really was. You guys ever seen Trick or Treat? We'll get to that later. That's another good horror film. Anyways, that was just my boring weekend. I really did not do. Oh, I have all A's in my classes. That's something new. But anyways, let's get to the movie news.
Ladies and gentlemen, can I please have your attention? I've just been handed an urgent and horrifying news story. Cannonball!
All right, guys. Well, this is the movie news portion of the show. In which case, we talk about the movie news. Oh boy, my tiredness is setting in. The movie news.
We barely even started.
Yeah, I've been watching Luke Cage all weekend. The movie news of this past week. For starters, the one of the Wonder Woman writers, his name is Greg Rucka, not the movie, comic writers. He's confirmed that the character Wonder Woman is in fact a bisexual character. I thought we should briefly touch on this. What do you all think? Bandit, I'm gonna ask you first.
I was wondering because I wasn't sure whether they're doing a sort of hint, don't ask, don't tell kind of thing with it, or whether they're definitively coming out and saying, "Oh no, she is." Like,
I think they definitively came out and say it. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, fine, whatever. But I think it's kind of more interesting if you think, well, Catwoman. I bet they got something. I think it's better if you leave it more of a mystery.
That needs to be the answer to every question. Well, but Catwoman. That's the answer to every question ever.
Yeah, if you just come out and go, yeah, they are. You're like, oh, okay. Kind of takes the magic away.
What do you mean? If anything, I think that adds a whole nother layer to things. But what about you, Trilbee? What about you?
There's no other layer because I honestly didn't realize people didn't know. It's obvious.
Yeah.
I'm amazed that this is actually a discussion. She's obviously bisexual.
But
obviously, right?
that's
She
the
grew
fun,
up on
though.
an island of...
You have a conversation with your friends and you're like, well, she lives on an island where there's no men. What do they do? So
I don't...
But
Exactly.
now all
How
those
do they
conversations are
breathe?
gone because
This
everyone's
became
just like,
way
well,
creepier
yeah.
than I bet it. This is a way creepier than I wanted it to be.
Is it like in The
If you
Simpsons?
bring this up, it's going to get creepy.
Is
I
it like in
forgot
The
who I was
Simpsons
talking to.
when Mr. Garrison is a lesbian, and it's like, I don't even know how two women can make love unless they sort of scissor or something. But one of the Wonder Woman previous writers of the comics, Gail Simone, put on Twitter, "Of course, Wonder Woman is bi. I'm amazed that this is still a discussion."
Yeah,
So
that's
my vote.
Was it a discussion, though? I don't think it is. I think they've tried to make it one now. But I don't think anyone was really like, we demand to know. It's like, no, just, she's Wonder Woman.
I think when they say discussion, I think she's referring to after the post announcement. People are just like, though this is a big deal now. People were a little upset. I remember when I first heard the news, I was like, because I read a headline and they didn't say bisexual, they said straight up gay, and I was like, well,
Yeah,
she
I
can't
read
be with
that
Batman
too.
now. She can't be with Batman now, can she? But if
Yeah.
she's bisexual, hey, it goes both
That's what
ways.
she
I'm
could,
down
yeah.
with that.
But they,
I'm
they
like, right
did-
on.
They did the same thing in the comics with Catwoman a while before. They came out and they said, oh, definitively she is. But everyone with
Yeah.
Catwoman was like, well, obviously. We all knew that.
No kidding.
But I guess
isn't Batgirl as well, or is that just am I just making that up off the?
Yeah,
I feel like that's
I
a
guess,
thing. Yeah.
I guess it's a bit different though, because like Catwoman, she's always wearing the leather and all that, so she's into some weird stuff. But Wonder Woman,
Yeah.
She's supposed to be like
weird.
the wholesome family
Weird might be
values kind of thing.
Weird might be the wrong adjective, but there you go. Sorry, keep going.
Yeah, so I suppose it's a little bit more surprising with Wonder Woman, but look, with comics, they're just going to change it again in another couple of years anyway, so who cares? You know?
I don't know if they will change this one though. I think they might just be like a thing that just like, yeah, it is a thing. I'm not. It's like because I guess it does make sense. You realize she grew up in an island full of women. They're always using rope and stuff, and yeah, you know, in theory, it all makes sense kind of now. Going back and looking at the panels,
it's like if they came out and said the Batman is bi, you'd be like, well, yeah, that makes sense. He spends all his time with Robin. Like, you know, everyone makes all the jokes about that.
Whoa,
So,
that's not at all what that means.
Pretty much all comic book characters are kind of gay when you think about it.
Yeah, thank you, Trilbee. Thank you, Trilbee, for clearing that up.
Chris O'Donnell.
Chris O'Donnell. See, I'm down for that. I'm okay with that.
No, but with this announcement or confirmation or whatever, it's not exactly making you rethink everything that Wonder Woman is and was. This isn't completely reinterpreting the character. This is more a confirmation that it's out in the open. At least that's how I read it.
Here's my question: Would you guys like to see this translated into the movies?
I don't know. It depends on what they do with with Steve Trevor.
Yeah. Well, Steve Trevor's going to be dead, isn't he? Because because if this is the World War I, you know what I'm saying? It's like, you know, World War I, Steve Trevor is either really, really old or dead by the time that we're in the Justice League world. So maybe it's a possibility. What do you think, Bandit?
I don't know. Can they just make a good movie, please? Like, I mean,
yes, I agree.
Like, don't be Ghostbusters. Don't try to get people in the seats just because you're like, look how progressive we are. Just make a good movie, please. That's really all we care about.
Well, I think that's what Ghostbusters was trying to do, but the internet made it a different thing. But I don't want to get into Ghostbusters right now.
But do you think, like, with comic books,
everyone, I didn't bring Ghostbusters up. I want that on record. I didn't bring it up.
That's fine. That is me. Don't keep the conversation going, though, Trilbee. I smelt a butt coming in there. I just knocked my whatchamacallit over. What's it called? My pop filter. Give me a second. I'm listening.
Yeah. Do you think, like, but comic books though are struggling? Like the actual comic books, less people are buying them, which is weird since comic book movies are the big thing now. So the question is, do you think they're doing this?
There's so many of them. There's so many comic books out there. There's so many different kinds of comic books out there, and I think people are more willing to sit down for 2 hours and watch a movie than they are to sit down and read issues upon issues of comic books, and even read a trade back, or you know what I'm saying. Sorry, go ahead.
But I'm just thinking, like, if you're a businessman running comics and you're struggling to get people to read, and someone comes in and says, hey, let's make Wonder Woman bisexual, I'd say, well, from a business point of view, we want to get as many people as we can to read it. So if we stick with the don't ask, don't tell you policy, that way the people who want to imagine she is that way will still buy it and will still feel happy, and the people who don't like the idea of her being that way can still buy it and still imagine that she's normal straight woman. So is it really smart business to go this direction if you're struggling?
I think it is. I think you're hitting all the quadrants by saying she's bisexual. I don't know if
it's good business to cut out a section of audience if you're already struggling to keep what you
have. I don't think you are cutting out a section of your audience by calling her bisexual.
Well, I think you can't not enjoy a comic if they don't share your sexuality.
We all decided to say the exact same thing at the same time. So what were you going to say, Trilbee?
Well, it's like if hypothetically, if Frozen 2 Elsa is a lesbian, hypothetically, then me watching Frozen 2 as a straight man does not cause me to dislike that film automatically or make me feel alienated. That doesn't work.
But
so regardless of... I don't really see... I don't understand that thought process. I'm not saying that's not going to happen. That's just not something I understand.
But it's more likely to drive readers away than to get new readers to pick up a comic book anyway, though, because like nobody really cares.
Well, not for Wonder Woman.
I disagree, because I think there are a lot of females out there who... I think, that are have far more progressive thoughts than maybe some men out there, that I think if they see, not only do we have a female strong character, we have a female, because Wonder Woman's already a feministic / SJW icon, for better or for worse. And so to say, this female strong character also happens to play both sides, awesome. I think that's kind of the mindset that you're going to have with female audiences. I can't say the same for men audiences, because sometimes men can be a bit of... I mean, there are women out there who don't agree with this kind of stuff too, but I do feel like the generalization is towards... you know what I'm saying? You see what I'm trying to get at here? Well,
sure, but very, very rarely do you actually get sex scenes in comic books, so does a character's sexuality in a genre where there's no actual sex really matter at all? Probably not.
Well, let's not forget.
Well, sexuality doesn't necessarily have to mean sex. It could just mean relationship. You know what I mean?
Only a year. I think it was maybe a year or two ago. There was a sex scene between Wonder Woman and Superman, and it was just like 4 or 5 pages of watching the ocean waves get stronger and stronger with their pounding. I'm not even joking. That was an actual thing in a comic book a couple of years ago.
Yeah,
like
I'm just gonna open up
sex
Google.
Shook the earth. But because it's Wonder Woman, this isn't
shot
like
heard around the world.
This isn't like taking someone like Batman and then they make the announcement saying he's a pansexual polyamorous octopus or whatever. It's taking Wonder Woman who. It's basically been implied that like the bondage, the all-female island. This is basically just confirming all of that subtext that's been building up for over 70 years. Like, this isn't a massive change, so I don't see why people would be turned off by this idea.
Yeah. I guess
that's what I think.
My only point is I just think, like, if audiences feel like you're doing it for, like, hey, look at me, it usually backfires like it did with Ghostbusters. So I don't know if the risk is worth the return. You know, that's my only thought.
I don't think in this. I
don't
get
really
what you're
care
saying,
about
but
the
not in this
choice.
context.
I'm just not sure if it's a
Bandit. I'm gonna disagree with you. You keep trying to throw Bandit. You keep trying to throw shade at Ghostbusters. I'm trying to keep telling. That wasn't the you legit keep trying to say the reason Ghostbusters suck was because it was about females, and that's not at all what's happening here. No,
but see,
the reason people
perceived
they weren't
it that
trying to
way.
be aggressive.
People perceived it as an SJW movie, and that's a big reason why it got so much hate. And why it got so much hate is a big reason why it didn't
what
do
it
well.
actually is. You're saying that something it actually was this SJW movie. That's what you've been saying before. When in reality, it's just how people have been perceiving things. You know,
yeah, but
I'm not trying to get back into things, but it's like you keep throwing shade at Ghostbusters.
Yeah, but in this case, the perception is more important than the actual reality. Like, it doesn't matter if you can prove that Ghostbusters or whatever wasn't an SJW movie. People thought it would, and that helped to sink it. So, like,
but that's why I'm saying, like,
with Wonder Woman, it can backfire, and you can get that reaction of people like, oh, bloody SJWs. Screw Wonder Woman sort of thing. So I don't know if it's really worth the risk. Just leave it, don't ask, don't tell. That way everyone's happy.
Well, this Wonder Woman announcement would be kind of
really
like
backwards thinking.
But this Wonder Woman announcement is kind of in the vein of, let's say, the writer of the Batman comic says Batman has a leather fetish. Like, okay, don't ask, don't tell. It's already basically implied. It's not changed anything.
I don't think that analogy really works. But I'm just
you get what I mean, kind of.
I get what
you understand my train of thought? Hop onto my train of thought.
Maybe it's just the phrase of "don't ask, don't tell" has such a negative connotation in the LGBT community.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So I think, like, maybe "don't ask, don't tell" is the wrong thing to say. Maybe it's just sort of like a no duh kind of thing is more of what you're trying to get at, Trilbee. As opposed to saying, "Oh, are you gay? Just don't tell anybody. Don't worry about it." Because that's
with Ghostbusters. That was changing something. That was deliberately making a polar opposite change from what had come before. Whereas with this Wonder Woman announcement, it is just confirming what I personally already accepted. At least I think so.
Fair enough.
Yeah, and well, look. By the same token, though, if I were to turn around and say, "I want to recreate Superman, but I want to turn him into a hardcore fundamentalist Christian, like really hardcore, and really confirm that, yes, he's definitely a hardcore Christian." Like, now, you could look at that and go, sure,
that's
Superman's character, that kind of makes sense.
Not at all the same.
But, let me finish. Superman's character, the same way you can go, it kind of makes sense.
I'm sorry.
There's values in that, and most people probably wouldn't care, but it does have the potential it's going to drive certain people away. Now, of course, hardcore Christianity and being gay is like sort of different sides of the fence. But see, I'm giving you an example on the other side of the fence to show you what I mean. Like, it has a potential to backfire, so I'm like, just leave it, don't ask, don't tell. You see what I'm saying?
My issue here lies with the whole "don't ask, don't tell" thing. I think you're phrasing.
Like, if someone came to me with that idea for Superman,
I'd
I'd say exactly the same thing. I'd say for Wonder Woman, I'd be like, most people might not care, but some people would. So why bother? Just leave it. Yeah, most people assume that he's Superman or whoever's raised with those small town values. But why bother? What's the risk? What's the benefit in doing that? Same with Wonder Woman.
It's not the idea that I don't like Bandit. It's how you're saying it. I'm really not trying to attack you. I feel like I'm being really like a really big douche this episode. I apologize. It's like I think that it's just like that phrase "don't ask, don't tell" has always kind of bothered me. And so like again, it's more like I think it's more of a no duh kind of situation than because "don't ask, don't tell" kind of feels like a keep it secret because we don't want the world to know this kind of thing, as opposed to a no duh is like it's just like yeah, we all kind of generally know that to be a fact.
It's about balancing. Like it's the fine line of representation in a medium and ramming it down people's throats. You've got to find that right balance. And I feel like this Wonder Woman thing is an appropriate balance. It is, yeah. I don't want to keep repeating myself, but...
Yeah, we're talking in circles at this rate, because I feel like no one's going to change their... once again, Trilbee is somewhere in the middle.
Make Wonder Woman great again.
We should build a wall around the Themyscira.
Around the Amazons. Make it extra tall, because they're like 7 foot tall.
Yeah, no, I'm not even looking at the choice. I'm just looking at it more from a business point of view. I'm not sure if that's really going to help draw new readers, but it has the potential to drive certain segment of readers away, so why bother doing it? Comics are already struggling to keep their readers.
Yeah,
just focus on making good stories. How about that?
I disagree. The segment who would be angry at Wonder Woman being bisexual are the audience who are not reading comic
characters.
books.
That's guaranteed to make it great.
Well, making a character bisexual does not mean you're not going to get a good story out of it. I just think there was something that they just wanted to say. But you know, it's whatever. I don't.
Green Lantern gay.
They did make
too. It didn't result in a certain spike in readership for him. It stayed kind of the same. I don't know what happened with that.
Fall?
I think that whole universe got retconned.
Anyway.
But so why bother? What's the point? I don't really see, just weighing up the benefits.
Well, to be fair, this is coming from the same guy who doesn't want Disney to have a lesbian princess, but I don't want to bring up old wounds.
I just don't think it's good to brainwash
Trey just casually throwing shade.
That's all.
I'm just saying, since we're throwing shade out there at companies, I feel like I should mention the fact that someone here doesn't want Disney to have a lesbian princess. Anyways,
well, yeah, because then because that's brainwashing someone else's kid. It's not cool to do that, Trey.
That's not at all brainwashing someone else.
Of course it is.
Ooh, someone said, "Ooh,
inclusion is not brainwashing."
Yes, I smell some Trump in that voice.
Well, it is because it's like putting in a pro-gay message is also putting an anti-religion message. So when you put that in a kids movie,
not true.
You're saying to someone else's
that's
kid
not at all true.
that it's wrong to believe in God, it's wrong to have a religion, and if their parents believe in God, there must be horrible, evil people that want to kill homosexuals.
That's
I
not
don't
at all
think that's
what
cool.
that means.
I don't think you should do that.
What the fuck?
Yeah.
Where has that train of thought gone?
Bandit. There's such. I don't want to. Since we get one swear per show, there's a huge fucking leap between like gay people and hating Christianity. You know what I'm saying? Saying that Disney putting that's like Jesus Christ. So that's like saying
that's what I was saying.
You hate the
Zootopia can put in racism because no one has any problem with that. But if kids' movies start putting in pro-gay messages, the reason the whole pro-gay thing is so controversial is it's interwoven with religious values. You might not care about religion, I might not care about religion, but a lot of people do. So if you put in a pro-gay religion, pro-gay message, it's also an anti-religion message. So you're now teaching someone else's kid it's wrong to have a religion, and that's not cool. You don't get to do that. You don't get to tell someone else's kid what they do and don't believe.
No. It's up to the parents to sit down with their child and have discussion with them about what their beliefs is. Disney
so why are you trying to put it into kids' movies to indoctrinate them with your thinking? You don't have the right to do that. It's only the parents' right to do that.
We're not trying to. Well, then why do we have the right to indoctrinate kids to say that straightness is okay? Where is that line drawn? Do you know what I'm saying? Where's that line drawn of saying, "Oh, okay, it's okay for someone to have a romantic relationship with the opposite sex, but to have a same-sex relationship is just completely wrong." At that rate, you are now brainwashing kids in using your analogy. You are now brainwashing kids in the sense of that you want children to think specifically in this one way. Why is that okay? Why not present both sides of the argument and let the kids decide for themselves, or let the parents tell the kids how to work?
It's not brainwashing to tell kids that being straight is okay. That's called human reproduction. It's not the same. Look, we're getting into the whole gender thing.
I've missed this podcast.
I'm going to edit this whole thing out because we've gone way too far down the rabbit hole. Way too early.
I'm loving this podcast.
People hate it when we talk about this stuff.
Well, then they could skip ahead. Time code's listed down below.
Or they just will stop listening to the podcast.
I feel like we've lost a couple of viewers over the last few weeks, which is fine because we don't have a filter when we talk about things. I'm sorry we don't pander to our entire audience.
Yeah, I'm gone for 2 weeks. See, I've not listened to the last 2 podcasts because I'm way behind on all of my podcasts, so I have no idea what's been happening. I feel like Hawkeye in Captain America Civil War. Like I'm retired for a couple of weeks and everything goes to shit.
I disappear for one movie, guys.
You
guys come back want to fight each other. Yeah.
Yeah. Got 18. Shot 18.
Me and Trey are like, why did you say that name? And you're like, whoa, guys, take it easy.
You're feeling not sure. Just like I feel like something's kind of tense happening in movie Mania. I want. This is my roommate Daryl. Like something really tense is happening. I said a raven to him. Oh. No, but anyways, speaking of controversy, Lion King's being remade. Moving on. Lion King's being remade.
Scar is revealed to be a pansexual octopus.
Take your kids to see that. It's going to be good fun. Enjoy that awkward conversation on the way home.
Daddy, why did Scar have 8 tentacles?
I'd rather have the conversation with my 6-year-old than my 15-year-old. That's all I'm saying, but whatever.
Yeah, sure. Anyways, you just don't get to have that conversation with kids that aren't your kids. You don't get to decide what other parents get to teach or not teach their kids. That's all I'm saying. Let's
anyway, Trey, tell me about the Lion King.
Oh, sorry. Christ, man, it's really salty for this whole thing. Anyways, yeah, Jon Favreau has announced that his next project following The Jungle Book will be a remake of The Lion King. Trilbee, your thoughts?
I didn't see this. Like, I saw them remaking The Lion King again in animated form. Like, it won't be live action because there's no human element, so it'll just be photorealistic animation. Yeah. But I thought that maybe Favreau would move on to Jungle Book 2, which I believe he was attached to do. Maybe he still is. I just didn't see him doing it, but Disney clearly think he's got the magic touch. After Jungle Book, he actually improved on the original animated cartoon, so I'm all for this.
All right, Bandit.
Sorry, I wasn't listening. I was thinking about our other conversation.
Where's the octopus man?
He's really wondering whether not to cut this last conversation out.
I was writing down the timestamp. I'm like, I'll listen back because we can at least more listeners because of that.
You really shouldn't. I think you should leave it all in.
No way. We're gonna leave. See, it's the same as the Wonder Woman. It's like, is the risk of losing a bunch of our listeners worth it? Probably not.
I don't think we're going to lose
Bandit, stop self-censoring. Because that's what censorship is.
Yeah, I can't help it. That's on YouTube now. With the ad-friendly content, there's a lot of self-censorship now.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, your video might get flagged. The podcast might get flagged by the YouTube heroes. Oh, boy.
Yeah, you either get hit by them or you get hit by the trolls, the alt-right trolls. So
yeah, what do you think about Jon Favreau directing the Lion King remake?
Yeah, great.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, I feel like it's because you know our opinion on remakes. It's like, if it's not going to ruin the original at all. I had some friends who texted me that were very upset when they read the headline. I'm like, read more about the story. They have a good filmmaker behind it. And he's just like, oh, well, I didn't read the story. I'm like, maybe you should read the story, not just the clickbait headline BuzzFeed. But it's just
are they going to do like Jungle Book style with like the CG animals?
Yeah, that's what the looks of it is. I'm guessing they're just going to do Lion King, because I think they're keeping some of the same music and whatnot. I would imagine it's just going to be Lion King done Jungle Book style, which I'm okay with. I wasn't the biggest Jungle Book fan, as we all know. I just think that, and I'm not the biggest Lion King fan. I think it's a good movie. It's not one of the best of all time, but it's a good movie. So I really am just kind of indifferent to this whole ordeal. But it's movie news, so we had to talk about it in some respect. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just hoping that they change the third act, because the remake of Cinderella and the Jungle Book, I think, improved on the originals, and I think The Lion King needs that treatment, because the whole third act and the final climax of that movie is completely botched. Because Simba comes back, and then his family is okay and happy and stuff, and then Scar says, who was really responsible for Mufasa's death? And then when Simba says it was me, Simba's family like, yeah, you deserve to die. Yeah, kill him. And then Scar's like, oh, psych, it was me. I mean, I don't know why I told you, but, and apparently the moral of the story is, if you may or may not have killed your father, even if you're apologetic, you do deserve to die. That third act is messed up, and they really need to improve it.
Don't they rip Scar to shreds at the end of that movie? They eat him alive, don't they?
Well, the hyenas do once they know that he was the one who killed Mufasa, but they only know that because Scar admitted it. He literally had the perfect crime, but he told them that he committed it anyway.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. I think the movie really falls once Simba grows older. But everything with Simba as like a kid, I'm a big fan of. But like, there's after that montage with Hakuna Matata, which, by the way, be prepared. Scar's song, awesome. But that's my other question: who do you get to do the voices? Because like, Lion King, it's like what, 25 years old, if that. It's barely up. Knock my pop over again. Oops. It's barely like 20 years old, and so the voices are also fresh in our head. You could still get the original voice actors; they're all still around. If you but why would you do that? At that point, you might as well just watch the original movie. You know what I'm saying? Who
could replace James Earl Jones or Jeremy Irons?
Okay, here's my question: in the Lion King remake, who's the one person you would keep? Pumbaa.
Either Jeremy Irons or James Earl Jones.
Okay.
Who voices Pumbaa?
Some guy. I don't know.
Some guy.
Yeah, that's why I give that guy some work again. I'm sure he hasn't done much.
I'll go Jeremy Irons.
I know he was in an episode of Seinfeld where he was a nudist on the train with Jerry Seinfeld. Apart from that, I don't know what else he's done apart from
the actor is Ernie Sabella, who is really only known for being Pumbaa.
Yeah. Right on.
And Timon is voiced by Nathan Lane.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Nathan Lane.
Why do I know that? Why do I just have these random person movie knowledge? Maybe because he's in Austin Powers 3. Why do I know that too? Anyways, I'm sorry. I just
priorities, man.
Yeah, right on. All right. Anyways, Lion King remake. Moving on. So in Transformers 5 news, they've recently announced that there will be Nazis in Transformers 5. Yeah. All right.
Wow.
I think Bandai. I think they're finally taking your idea and doing the whole time travel thing.
That was kind of the only sort of sci-fi trope they haven't really used yet, I think, is time travel. So but they've also got they've got Nazis and King Arthur in the same movie. So yeah, it would have to be time travel, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I mean, apparently Anthony Hopkins is in it, and I think something about Winston. I think because they were filming in like some Nazi camp or whatever at the actual house of Winston Churchill.
Yeah,
I don't know if
and then they filmed at the former home of Winston Churchill, and they dressed it up with swastikas and Nazi memorabilia.
Yeah,
which
that's hilarious.
Not the best approach.
It's like in a Klansman outfit and wearing at Martin Luther King's house. It's like something's wrong there. I don't know what it is.
You know what?
But,
history nerd. Like Winston Churchill and Hitler were kind of like the first people ever to get into a flame war, because there was this is amazing. There was a series of like radio responses that the two of them would do to each other. because Hitler wasn't really all that interested in like invading Britain. He wanted to like sign a treaty with them and then just head towards Russia. But Winston Churchill was so determined that he's like, no deals, we're going to fight. So it was this back and forth where Hitler's like, hey, you can't take me. And Winston's like, we will fight on the beaches. And Hitler's like, well, if there is going to be war, it's you forced it on us. And it's this back and forth between the two. There's like, I think 3 replies from each of them, and it's epic. It's really, really
sounds
good.
like an episode of Movie Mania. Sounds like our podcast right here. Just intensity back and forth.
It's like a
just throwing shade.
1930s version of a flame war over like live wave
The
radio.
YouTube comment war? Yeah.
Yeah, and every so often they send a bird with like a 140-character tweet attached to its leg.
Just a picture of a
KYS,
middle finger.
Adolf.
Yeah. Like Adolf Suckler, am I right? Yeah. Hey, high five. All right. So Transformers 5. I'm interested to see Optimus Prime riding on Grimlock with Excalibur while taking out like a bunch of robot Nazis. I kind of want to see this movie now. Yeah. If the poster can just be a picture of Optimus Prime like stepping on a burning swastika or whatever, like holding Excalibur, and it's like 2017. You got me. I'm in.
That's how you get people into the theater.
Yeah, right on.
I kind of want to see it again. Damn it, Michael Bay. You've done it again.
Yeah.
Every movie we're like, maybe this one will be alright.
I liked 4. I liked the first half of 4.
Someone has to.
Yeah.
They showed they showed behind the
scenes.
scenes.
Sorry, Trilbee.
They showed behind the scenes footage of them filming the new one with Anthony Hopkins, and as Anthony Hopkins is just walking down this path, there's like an old-fashioned 1940s tank like trundling alongside him. So I'm guessing that tank is going to be a Transformer at some point. So Nazi Transformers, I think, is going to be a thing.
Wait, that isn't. I've got questions. Ooh. I've got questions again.
I have so many questions.
So Megatron's going to be like
frozen in time
or something? That'd be kind of cool.
I think it was that type of tank.
Ooh,
that's kind of cool. Oh man,
like
cool.
Like
Fury with Transformers. Oh man. See, that could be your Bumblebee movie. Bumblebee's stuck in World War II and he's got to befriend some kid or whatever, and then he's got to fight in World War II. Oh, dude!
Imagine that World War II, but both sides have Transformers. Guys, that'd be awesome.
Mark Wahlberg's gonna fight Hitler with Excalibur. That's exactly what this is. I'm serious. Mark Wahlberg is about to fight Hitler with Excalibur, and he's like, oh man, Hitler's gonna get transformed.
I named Age of Extinction like the second worst movie of 2014. That premise is something that gets me back in the theater.
Doesn't it? Yeah. And you know what? That trailer is going to be awesome. I'm so excited for that trailer. They released like a poster, like a little teaser poster, like a month and a half ago or so, and like this really cool like Mondo designed Transformers 5 poster, and it looks awesome. This movie is about to be horrible, but it's gonna look cool. Well, anyways, that's all.
Since time travel is included, we're actually getting perilously close to Kevin Smith's Hitler movie idea, because he had an idea for a movie about Hitler that was so bad that even he's not going to do it. Do you want me to tell it just real quickly?
Yeah, you've said it on the show before.
Okay, well, for new listeners, his idea is the movie starts, Hitler's in his bunker, it's the last days, he's just about to shoot himself in the head like he did in real life, and then all of a sudden his guardian angel appears and says, Hitler, done some terrible things, we're going to give you one last shot to redeem yourself. We're going to send you forward in time to September 11, 2001, and your job is to stop the terrorist attacks. And if you succeed in stopping those terrorist attacks, you will have redeemed yourself in the afterlife. So Hitler goes forward in time, and that's the movie. He has to stop the 9/11 hijackers, and the movie is called 9/11.
I don't know how to follow that up.
9/11.
The whole movie.
Who would play Hitler in this hypothetical?
Is a setup just for that. The name of the.
That reminds me of this Family Guy joke about like Peter had this idea for a movie. And he's just like, so I play this window washer, right? And I'm washing all the windows in the World Trade Center, and guess what I see in my reflection? The movie's called September 11th, 2000 and Fun. And I was like,
In other news, a poster has just dropped for the new Pirates of the Caribbean Dev Men Tell No Tales, which means that there should be a trailer within the next day or two, because this comes out in May.
It comes out next May. Can you send us the poster? I presume I know what it looks like, but I still need to see it.
It's appropriately minimalistic.
Right.
It's just
a poster.
Which
just
movie
a skull.
studio makes Pirates of the Caribbean?
Disney.
Oh, okay. I was thinking maybe it's Paramount, because I saw on Film Brits you had your whole thing of Paramount, and I thought, maybe they're desperately trying to go back to... But no, sorry, Paramount, you didn't even make Pirates of the Caribbean.
Yeah. and speaking of Film Brits, well done, Trilbee, for keeping that podcast going. I've enjoyed those last couple episodes you've been posting. So
I'm going to be... the next one's going to be a day or two late, because tomorrow I'm going to watch like 4 or 5 original films back to back, because I want to talk about all the original movies recently, and I just want to be caught up.
That's something else that came up when my friend texted me about the Lion King remake. He's like, we need more original movies. I said, tell me, did you see Kubo and the Two Strings? He's like, no. I'm like, did you see Don't Breathe? He's like, no. I'm like, well, those were 2 incredible original films that came out presumably like a week after one another, and no one saw. Oh, people saw Don't Breathe. No one saw Kubo and the Two Strings. Where were you? And he was just like, seen Suicide Squad. I'm like, How many times did you see Suicide Squad? Twice. Right. Yes.
Well, in the UK, they've just released Hunt for the Wilder People, which is a new film from Taika Waititi, who did What We Do in the Shadows and Thor Ragnarok.
Is this the werewolves movie? It's
about a fat kid who gets lost in the New Zealand wilderness. It looks really, really funny, and it's out in the UK now, so I'm going to watch it tomorrow. But so that's another original. It's like the biggest New Zealand movie of all time, which is random trivia. New Zealand has a film industry, apparently. Who knew?
What's the plot of this new Pirates of the Caribbean movie? Because I see a lot of gold here, and I'm just like, what's the plot?
It's got Captain Salazar in it, who's going to be played by Javier Bardem, and it's Captain Jack Sparrow versus Ghost Pirates, and there's the Devil's Triangle. They're after the Trident of Poseidon. It's messy. Sounds messy.
Sounds like a lot of fun.
Disney did a casting call in the UK like a year ago, and they specifically requested incredibly buxom women. Large-breasted women.
Oh,
wow!
I know. Well, it was that time of year, wasn't it?
It's just a funny scene in that casting sheet with Disney's name on it. The house that Mickey created.
Too small for me. Yep.
Mickey likes boobs.
Oh boy!
If this was Film Brits, that's what I'd call the podcast. Mickey likes boobs. I mean, look at that. Look at his ears. Look how suspiciously shaped his ears are. You all know it makes sense.
Oh my god! You'll get a free parking pass.
We really talk about a variety of issues on this podcast, don't we?
Oh, we really do.
I'm cool with that being in a kids' movie. That's fine.
Can that be the animated segment for this movie?
Indoctrinating our children to like buxom ladies.
Oh, man.
Now that's fun.
Show me the teddies.
Mickey Mouse, the pig,
Oh my god. I'm here to collect. Oh
dear.
Oh man. Alright, well guys, that means let's get to the homework.
This week, each one of you has a homework assignment.
Your homework is to listen to some real music, get inspired.
Is this your homework, Larry?
Down with homework?
Alright guys, this is the homework portion of the show, in which case we're talking about the movies in which we were either assigned to see or just saw on our own. Again, I nearly burped during the start of that. It's going to keep going.
Stay the course, train.
You saw me stumble there, and once again, it's just because I thought, I'm burp. Anyways, Trilbee, you want to go first?
At the request of the entire internet, I've been watching Stranger Things, and I'm 4 episodes in.
Yes, isn't it just incredible?
It is
full spoilers.
Very addictive.
Up to up to the first 4 episodes, full spoilers. Trilbee, this is only because I can ask you this question. Trilbee, what was the last thing that happened so I know exactly what to say and whatnot?
The last what, sorry?
To say, like,
the last event. What are you up to? What has happened plot-wise?
And we are doing spoilers, yeah?
Yes, full spoilers.
Will's body has been dragged out the lake, and they've discovered it's a dummy.
Right on.
And Winona Ryder destroyed the wall of the house, and yeah, that's end of episode 4, halfway through.
Yeah.
Have you gotten to the lights yet?
Yes, the lights.
Okay, that's my favorite scene in the entire series. I love that series. This reminds me of this funny joke I saw on the internet. It's like, I texted this guy, he didn't reply yet. Will Byers can talk to his mom via lights. Anyways, that's just.
I love Stranger Things. But, I even burned these onto like DVDs and gave them to my mom, and I was like, "You have to watch these. You have to. They're so good." And my mom called me back a couple of days later and was like, "Oh yeah, it's such a great show."
And it's a pirate Stranger Things on DVD and sell it to his mum.
It's so interesting that it's able to like encapsulate the 70s and the 80s so perfectly, but it has such a broad appeal. This is not just a nostalgia grab. This can appeal to a contemporary audience.
This is what Super 8 was trying to be, and I think it's really succeeding far more than what JJ was trying to do with Super 8. It's a very well done show.
And, I think
the more I think about the show, the more I picture myself as the kid with no teeth. What's his name? The one that always talks like this. Yeah, I picture that as myself at that age. Yeah.
And I think part of the reason it has that sort of broad appeal is like one of the thing with the music is they distinctively gave different music for the different storylines. Like the sister who's got that whole storyline of going to the party and's got the boy and all that. Her music
it's very
is...
John Hughes.
Yeah. So. Like her music is different from the others because they say, well, she's in a different movie up until a certain point. She's in like this rom-com 80s kind of movie. So the music kind of reflects that, while the other characters are in this sort of twisted E.T.
Yeah.
So I think that's why it has that broad appeal. There's all these different elements,
Like the sister's music is more like a bwomp 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 bwomp, like you would hear like at a dance in the 80s movies. But then like the kids' music is like that kind of E.T. Classic Goonies kind of music, and then the mom's just like this really sad, depressing tone. Winona Ryder is great in this show, though. I do think she gets better as the show goes along. So when I first saw her, I found her just a tad bit irritating. But as the show goes along, I found her more and more endearing. Do you hate the black kid yet? As much as I did.
I hate no one at the moment.
Right on. Okay.
Yeah.
Sure.
The only character I'm not really invested in is the detective.
Is that the problem?
Is he too black for you?
He might be. What's the problem?
So like I'm only 4 episodes in, but I know that there's the upside down. So when he goes in, does he turn white or something? And then and then you prefer him?
No, but he should.
Could do.
That's the plot of the sequel. That's the sequel.
I'm holding my tongue because there's so many things I want to talk about that happen at the end, but I can't.
The only character I'm not really invested in is the detective who lost his daughter or something. Maybe I don't hate him. I just feel like whenever he is on screen, removed from the rest of the characters, I just think that the show loses a bit of momentum. I don't dislike it. I'm just not as invested.
Expand on his story a bit later.
The show was the best. I feel as though the show was the best when he was on screen. I just felt like,
I think it comes alive when the kids are with Elle, or when Winona Ryder's there, or even like Nancy and her subplot with Barb.
I feel like a lot of the younger actors definitely do get better because I feel like maybe they shot the show kind of in order in a sense. Because I feel like as the kids spend more time together, the more. I feel like they know each other more. I feel like the chemistry gets better as the show goes along, and so I feel like. But from the get-go, I feel like the detective was a good actor, and the kids, like I said, the first episode, I'm like, these kids really aren't selling it really well for me. Hold on, that laughter just gave me a cough. Oh my! You guys keep going.
My favorite bit is whenever the kids are there, because I'm like, oh my god, it's kind of like E.T. and Stand By Me. But actually, the Stand By Me scenes come after in the next episode, so I can't talk about that. You gotta watch the rest of it.
I will hopefully by next week, but then I've also got to watch Luke Cage, but that reminds me.
Just watch Stranger Things. Don't worry about it.
Okay, but it reminds me because I think Netflix have changed their viewing approach recently, because before they would often skip the opening theme tune if you were watching them back to back. But with Stranger Things, it's like, oh yeah, I get to listen to this awesome synth sound again, which is amazing.
Yeah, maybe they did it deliberately.
So I remember watching Jessica Jones, and it would all of the episodes would start a minute into the episode if you were watching them back to back to skip the opening credits. And it's like, what are you doing? It's awesome. Don't skip it.
They are. Luke Cage was. Did they actually do that? I was wondering why Luke Cage was doing that. I'm like, hey, what gives? Where's that really awesome intro? What's
it's so cool, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because Netflix released it a few days before showing all the episodes, so I've heard it, and it sounds so cool.
The best part of that show, but we'll get to that later.
Oh, not a fan?
We'll get to that later.
Was Luke Cage too black?
No, but he was very boring. But no, well, you keep going with Stranger Things, Trilbee.
Oh, sweet Christmas. Yeah.
He says that. How awkward was that? Jesus. How awkward was that? No, but sorry, go. You keep going, Trilbee.
Really, I don't want to speak in totality about it because I'm only halfway through, but I am really, really enjoying it. And basically every night I'm with my girlfriend saying, do you want to watch Stranger Things? And it's like, no, we don't have time. We've got loads of other stuff to do. So I really want to get back to it.
Hey, Trilbee,
I'm looking forward to seeing more.
So how about this? Like, you get your phone, right? Your girlfriend goes to bed, and like she'll just be sleeping, and she'll just hear bop, 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 bop. She's like, "You watching Stranger Things?" No. And it's just like, no. And suddenly you're on episode 7. There you go. Sorry, what were you gonna say, Bandit?
I was gonna say, I won't give any spoilers, but like since you're like halfway through Stranger Things, like what's your take on the whole? Like, what's your fan theory of where you reckon it's going?
There's not a lot to work with in terms of interpretation, or maybe I'm just reading it completely wrong, but there's clearly some weird government conspiracy, some weird creature, some weird alternate dimension that it's taken all the kids. I don't know why or for what purpose or where they are. I've not had enough to work with yet, but I'm invested in the story. Yeah. I know that sounds like a massive Donald Trump dodge, like question dodge, but I don't really know.
Let me see the emails. I'm sorry.
I will release my taxes when he shows his birth certificate.
I did not say that. I never once did I mention that. That was a fun day.
Well, if I'm the moderator,
next week I will look you.
Well, if I'm the moderator, that means I have to interrupt one of you 41 times and let the other one speak 2 times and never challenge them. So no, Trilbee, you're wrong.
You know what?
You're wrong. You need to be fact-checked, Trilbee. You need to be fact-checked. I'm impartial because I'm the moderator. You're wrong, Trilbee. You're wrong. Please.
That makes me smart. Next week, I will look
that
through
was
the
so
eyes,
rigged,
and I will
debate.
And I will say that I have never watched Stranger Things. I never watched it. I've never watched Stranger Things. I've never had an opinion on it. I think why do they keep on saying I hate Stranger Things? I've never been there.
We're gonna lose way more subscribers
on the show.
We're gonna lose way more listeners on that bit of parroting the politics of debate than we would ever lose talking about Wonder Woman being bisexual. Oh man, Trilbee, you really are killing me here. I'm sorry, I don't have to comment to the mic. Sorry.
Where have the Duffer Brothers come from? Like, what have they done before this?
Yeah, I know they came out of nowhere.
This might be like a pad. They're probably working on this for years. That's the case because I think they directed every episode. They wrote and directed every episode. This is their baby. So that surprised me. Anyways, going from a fantastic show that everyone should watch if they have not seen yet, even if you know the spoilers, just admire the craft and the skill and just the true talent that comes from making the show, to Luke Cage. So I just started.
Tell us what you really feel.
I'm 9 episodes into Luke Cage, and I will say this because we'll go deeper into this, spoilers and everything later. I'm not a fan. If any of you follow me on Twitter, then you see.
You're in episode 10. I'm in episode 4, so it's really discouraging to hear you say that it's not good.
Here's my
starting to get good in episode 3 and 4. I was like, oh, it's getting better.
My thing is right. I'm trying to. If you follow me on Twitter, you can see my digression through the things. I'm like, episode 1, I'm like, yeah, it's a solid start. I'm excited to see where it goes. I have some issues, but whatever. And it's like episode 4, really not in this. Episode 8, I'm like, episode 8, I can't do this. I might quit. But at this point, I might as well just finish it because I'm not far into it. But yeah, I mean, it's so weird that it could feel so studio controlled, yet still try to feel so different and pretentious in many ways, filmmaking wise, because they really try to strive for the black community, black against whites, the racism aspect. They really try to go for certain things that just don't work character wise, and the show to me is like it's making every mistake that it shouldn't have to. You know what I'm saying? Like, Daredevil is way too good for Luke Cage to be this bad. I think that's ultimately what I'm sitting in. Like,
yeah, but you have to remember. You have to remember where this spun off from. Jessica Jones, which was not that great.
But
so would you say it's the same level?
Jessica Jones.
But no, it's far worse. Jessica Jones had the ability to have, albeit a minorly compelling character and a fantastic villain. Yeah. This really has nothing going for it. Pretty much everybody, with the exception of, I don't know, Mahershala Ali is the main villain. Everyone else just looks either bored or this like there's like George Lucas levels of acting. Excuse me. In this show, like
I should say,
there's the female.
We're not going to give any spoilers for those who haven't finished the series, so don't worry. I haven't seen past episode 10, so please no spoilers, Trey.
I'm not going to ruin anything for anybody, but I will. I will. I'm talking about the female detective that you know who I'm referring to when I say that. Yes,
yeah,
Bandit.
Yeah.
She's awful. She's awful, and she gets worse as the show continues on.
True, but she's a buxom lady. She could be in Pirates of the Caribbean.
She could. Mickey loves her.
Mickey Mouse would approve. I'm just saying.
Get that diversity. Yep, right this way, man. Diversity. No, but it's like it does everything wrong, and it bothers me. And
really?
It's not a good show. I really don't like this show.
I'm gonna keep have my fair share of criticisms, but does it really get that bad? Really?
But I feel like. I really feel like, well, you can't tell me what my opinion is, man, but I will say this. Sorry, that was mean. I'm sorry. But like my thing. But here's my thing. If a show is bad, I'm okay with it being bad. But I'm not okay with a show that's bad trying so hard to be good. You know what I'm saying? Like really trying to excuse me. I think I'm getting a cold. Trying really hard to just be this awesome show because it tries to have look at all these interesting shots and long takes and look how retro we're being, and some of the editing's really off. It just everything about the show just kind of feels wrong. I really don't like this show. I'm gonna finish it because at this point I'm so into it I might as well. But like it's doing. It takes the worst thing about Daredevil, where it's like 3 episodes too long, and the worst thing about Jessica Jones, where it's boring, and like melts it all together in this weird message-making mess that doesn't need to be on Netflix. Anyways,
it's been so interesting watching the reaction because I've not watched any of this yet. But there are two camps. Like with Daredevil and Jessica Jones, I just heard universal acclaim, which I, for the most part, agree with. But for Luke Cage, I love Jessica Jones. And Daredevil Series 1, I've not finished Series 2 yet. So behind. But for Luke Cage, I've heard people say it's their best show yet. It's amazing, great stuff. It's changed the way I look at the world. And this is what I've heard. Don't shoot the messenger.
Yeah, I'm not
but I have also heard a lot of people saying it feels directionless. It feels slow. It's not as good as the previous two. So this is clearly the most from what I've seen, it's one of the most divisive Marvel things to come out in recent memory.
It really feels like Disney and Marvel. Maybe it's like I feel like this is the first show done without Kevin Feige, isn't it? Because Kevin Feige used to work with Ike Perlmutter. My God, he used to work with Ike Perlmutter on the TV stuff. But this is the first, I think, Kevin Feige absent show, if I'm not mistaken. And it really feels like a TV show, which it is, but like it just has that sense of. It's wrong and it's boring, but at the same time they're really trying to like throw in messages to try to pander to your audience. Like by simply throwing in the phrase Black Lives Matter, you are not making your show mean something. By having scenes where white cops interrogate a black person, or having something say, well, it's because I'm black, that doesn't make your show have this racial allegory by just simply stating things that black people say in the real world. And that really got to me too. This show triggered me, if that makes any sense. Oh man, it was really the show. It's getting worse, which is awful because it shouldn't be doing that. It should be wrapping up, but it's not. All right.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, because
the show has like 8 villains. I'm sorry.
Really?
This is gonna go like next week.
Do they all appear in episode 10 at the same time?
Well, I did because I did a video on my channel, just sort of like, stuff you need to know about Luke Cage, that kind of thing. So I was like, when I was researching, I was like, actually, this stuff sounds pretty interesting. This could make a pretty interesting show. But then when the show starts, and again, this isn't a spoiler, it doesn't ruin anything. But the first, like, say, 2 to 3 episodes, is about the villain Cottonmouth, like, trying to find the guy who's got this bag of money with $500,000 in it. And it's like the whole, through almost 3 whole episodes is him trying to find this bag of money. And you're sitting there going, this guy's supposed to be like a really big gangster. A big gangster like that, he should have like $500,000 just lying around. That should be nothing to him. If he's this really successful gangster. Why is he going so crazy trying to find this bag of money when he could just grab it out of like a huge pile of money he's probably got in his basement and go, okay, here, I paid you back, to like his other partners. Like it's, and I'm kind of like,
I can't answer that question.
And like even later on in other episodes, they do say he's got money stashed everywhere, and I'm like, well then why did he care so much about getting that little amount of money back? But yeah, and also like so far, just like from what I've seen, the first half of it is I'm like, this all seems kind of stupid because it's like, that all this like this entire situation can be cleaned up by Luke Cage hulking out, walking into his nightclub and just thrashing everyone. That's what Daredevil does. Luke Cage is bulletproof. So I'm like, yeah, none of this matters. Just go in there and beat everyone up. Problem solved. Why do I care about this whole elaborate scheme to take him down? Just go in there and punch him in the head. You're bulletproof. You're literally bulletproof.
I'm pretty sure it's in the first few episodes that they set that red herring of what that might give Luke Cage some problems. I think they set that up early on in the series. And I will say that do you know what I'm referring to? Have you gotten that far?
Kind of.
Yeah. No. Okay. Well,
I've had the flashback episode where it goes back to prison and he's got the giant afro and the massive bushy beard. He looked awesome. I hope he gets that back again. He looked cool.
I'm talking about the bullets. You know what I'm referring to when I say the bullets? No? You know what I'm talking about?
Bullets? Yeah. I assume they'll come back to that later.
I will say this: the payoff to certain things lasts like 3 episodes, and it's really, really frustrating. And I will also say this: I will give them this though. For a Netflix show, there are a lot of Marvel Cinematic Universe connections that I was really enjoying. That is something I did really enjoy when it connected to the movies. This feels the most Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. out of all the TV shows. That's all I'm saying. Oh, no. Just it's trash.
Really that's my official step for watching the rest of it now.
Trash.
I want to make my
first
4 episodes before I continue, though. So, yeah. Well, that's a shame.
Trash. You're probably gonna like him more than I do because I'm usually against the crowd on this kind of thing. So yeah.
All right, cool.
So while you two guys were talking about that, I just watched the entirety of Mr. Plinkett's Star Wars: The Force Awakens review, which is an hour and 3/4 long, and just dropped.
Did it really?
Did it really?
Yeah, I kind of don't want to watch that. I kind of can't. I don't think I can put myself up to that. I just got past all the Force Awakens criticism. I can't do that. I can't do that to myself. I really can't sit through.
The last time you made a Plinkett review was like 2014. It's been years.
I know. No. The problem isn't the fact that
I didn't even have a channel. Well, that's how long it's been since he's done a Plinkett review.
That's not true. That's not true at all. But whatever. But it's like I can't sit through it's almost been a year now, and I can't sit through another. It's a remake. She's too proud. I can't sit through that again.
It might be positive.
He's probably gonna like the movie, but he's gonna be like, look, the movie's fine, but it's just like he's all. Yeah, I'm sure. I think he did, but it's just like I can't sit through that. I'm sorry.
I love Mr. Plinkett. You know how long those videos?
I mean, that's
good. It'll at least be fun to watch.
The Mr. Pizza rolls. Sorry. What?
I like to my cat.
sucks like Buffalo Bill. Did you actually, are we saving that? We're saving that for the horror talk, aren't we? Yeah, all that stuff.
Yeah.
Horror talk. All right.
All right. Well, should we jump to feature presentation?
Yeah, feature presentation time.
And now, our feature presentation.
That was actually Cable Guy. I was doing
Josh.
that.
Josh. All right, guys. Welcome to our discussion on some of the better horror films of our time, some of our favorite horror films that we've seen, and some of the better ones of recent memory. Yes, for starters, who wants to go? Trilbee, why don't you go first? We'll let you go first again. What about you?
Okay, I don't know if this is my favoritist one ever, but it's one I saw recently that I absolutely loved, and it was Don't Breathe. It's one you can actually check out now.
No spoilers, please.
No spoilers for Don't Breathe.
As spoiler-free as possible, please.
Right.
Because I haven't seen it yet.
Well, the basic plot is that a group of juvenile delinquents break into an old man's house because they want to... it's set in Detroit, and they want to raise money to leave and fulfill their dreams of moving to a beach. So they decide to break into this old man's house. They discover he's blind, so they think, oh, if we're just really, really quiet, then we can just steal all of this money, because apparently he's sitting on a massive safe filled with $300,000. So they break into the house, and then it turns out that the guy is kind of like an old version of Daredevil with really heightened senses, and he's a war vet, and he has a propensity for brutal violence. And it's absolutely savage. And by the time the film was done, I felt like I had to dislocate my neck because my heart was in my throat for so long that I had a crooked neck. It was there aren't many jump scares, but it really knows how to use tension, and it knows how to use moments of quiet, because they have to be as quiet as possible while going around this house, because otherwise the blind man will hear them. So the sound design has to be another level, and it absolutely delivers. Performances are great. Stephen Lang is terrific as the blind man who never gets a name. There's some really inventive sequences, and it gets incredibly uncomfortable in the last third of the film in a way that maybe some people will take umbrage with, and it maybe didn't need to go that dark or in that direction. And I can see why people would have an issue with it, but it was really, really, really enjoyable as far as horror films go. It was really creepy.
He made up the story about having all the money in order to lure people into his house.
Let's not guess what the ending is, because I don't want anything ruined, Bandit.
Sorry.
Please.
Sorry,
and Trilbee, don't answer that question, please.
So that was totally not the ending, maybe.
So the whole thing takes place inside the house?
For the most part, yeah. There's a few outdoor segments at the beginning and towards the end, but yeah, it's like 80% of the film takes place in this blind guy's house. And what he's done is that he knows the layout of his house incredibly well. He's got certain things in corners of the room and in places. So he's got a small fan. A desk fan on a shelf, and if he walks past it, he'll know that he's by that shelf when he's chasing them in the dark, and because he turns the lights off at one point so that they're as blind as he is, but he knows the layout of the house.
Yeah.
Everyone, yeah. So it gets really clever. It's inventive. There's a couple of plot holes in that. At one point, he discovers that they're still in the house because their shoes are by the door, and he smells the shoes. But his sense of smell is never brought up again, which is a bit of a plot hole. But either way, really enjoyable modern horror film. Fede Alvarez did the Evil Dead remake, and that was just an absolute gore fest. And this is a lot more restrained by comparison, but more refined. And it was probably going to be it will be a very, very great year for film if this is not in my top 10 list.
Cool. So Don't Breathe.
So that was and it's an original film that you can watch right now. So if you're complaining about the Jungle Book, then go watch Don't Breathe.
Is it on Netflix?
Are you? Did you finish? Are we done talking about the movie yet? I kind of muted my mic and kind of put my headphones down. I didn't want to hear anything else. You were kind of getting into spoiler territory for me, because you know how I'm about spoilers. I'm a very sensitive spoiler guy.
I don't believe I spoiled anything, but it's all good. I love the film, so I'll leave it at that. And it's an original film that you can watch. It's
What do you
a
give it out
film
of 10?
you can watch. An 8 or a 9.
Right on.
Because it did stick with me, and the ending was pretty horrifying, but it's a horror film.
Wow.
So there you go.
Well, I watched...
And also a massive crush on Jane Levy. Massive crush. So she's lovely.
Well, I watched Tusk. No, I didn't. It's
Everyone's favorite.
No. I watched.
Forgot that existed.
Lambs.
Oh, okay.
Silence of the Lambs. I watched that.
Was it a great big fat one? Was she a great big fat one?
You watched it as well, Trey. Now, it was the first time you saw Silence of the Lambs, right? What'd you think of it?
Yes. I will say this. I understand exactly why this movie is considered one of the best films of all time.
Oh god, I hated it.
No. It's a very well done film. It's a very tense film. But the issue with watching a film that has now become a part of pop culture is that you run the risk of having seen all the best bits already.
Yeah.
But that's not necessarily the issue with this film. The issue with this film, in my opinion, which is not the film's fault, it's that the best scenes of the film are the ones with Hannibal Lecter in them, and he's not in the film much. Every time he's on screen and it's just him and Clarice just sitting there talking, it's really, really, really amazing. Which means every time that doesn't happen, the rest of the film is pretty good. So you get a pretty good movie with beats of incredibleness. You know, Anthony Hopkins deserves it. I love the bit where he starts saying, he's like, Agent Starling! Agent Starling! Robot Chicken has a great parody of that with a guy that, like, cuts his wrist. Has a great parody of that where, like, she has to keep going back and forth. And, like, they can't show what happened, so it's just a bunch of black bars on her face. And by the end, it's just like a black face. No, but I can send a
love
video
those
clip.
scenes between Hannibal Lecter and Clarice. I especially like the very first time that she's speaking to him through the glass, because before she goes in, they go through all the rules of, like, don't approach the glass, don't tell him anything personal, don't pass him anything, etc., etc., etc. And you watch within seconds of her speaking to him, he's already gotten her to break one of the rules where she, like, shows her FBI ID and he's like, closer please. She holds it closer and he's like, closer, and she has to step up to the glass. So he's already got her to break one of the rules. And it's like this mental...
right away you can tell he knows. Yeah,
it's like this mental
when she walks in
between them.
And when she walks into the cell, he's just stood up in the center of the room, like he could smell her from down the corridor.
He knows that she's coming. That's
Anthony Hopkins for that, because that was Anthony Hopkins' choice, because they said, oh, what do you want to be doing when she comes around? Do you want to be, like, laying on the bed or drawing? And he's like, no, I'll just stand in the middle. And he's like, what do you mean? He goes, oh, like waiting for her. He goes, well, how do you know she's coming? He goes, I can smell her. Anthony Hopkins was great.
What's that line that one guy says that I can't say?
But Hannibal's like, I myself cannot.
Yes.
But
oh man.
Yeah, and the whole I ate his liver with some fava beans, and then that was all Anthony Hopkins. He said when he was doing the part of Hannibal
fava
Lecter,
bean, a nice Chianti.
he threw in that bit just as a joke, because he says a lot of their scenes were so intense it'd get, like, pretty dark at times, so he'd, like, throw in a joke every now and then like that just to lighten things up. And he goes, he never expected them to actually use it. But of course they did. And that's one of the moments that people remember most of all for that movie now, is that bit.
Yeah. I will say this, as much as I do enjoy the rest of the film. I do think it's a good film in its entirety. And I will say this, everything with Buffalo Bill, because we really only get, like, 2, maybe 3 scenes of Buffalo Bill in the film, but every time he's there, and it's just like it's something that Tusk did as well. I guess that's where Tusk got it from, where, like, the girl's in the well, and full spoilers for this film, by the way. The girl is in the well, and he's making her put the lotion off the skin, and then put the lotion in the basket, and then, like, she's like, put the lotion in the basket, and, like, the dog's over here, like, this equally evil dog. The hose again. And, like, this girl's like screaming her head up. He starts screaming with her to be like, "Oh yeah, no one can hear you. There's no way. No, you're gonna be stuck there forever." And like towards the end of the film, when you see what it is he was building, and like you can see like this mannequin nearly covered with like human skin, and you're just like, that's awful. And then that scene where he's like dancing, and you can like hear the music, and the girl's screaming down there, and it's just
and he does the
whole thing is just
mangina thing.
Yeah, that was so
it was so off-putting
in the sense of like I was so creeped out. Like I was watching this in my bed, and I just kind of like paused it and just kind of like rubbed my hands together and just went, okay, all right. That was just because I had to like give myself like a breather to like I can't do this. It was really creepy. Yeah,
and
but I did
the
enjoy
guy who
the
plays
film.
Buffalo Bill and the girl who's the chick down the hole too. Like that's another case where the two of them, because their scenes are so intense. The guy who plays Buffalo Bill, after that, he'd always have to go up to her and be like, "So we okay? We're okay? Like in real life,
we good?"
And she's like, "Yeah, we're okay."
Oh, man.
And she said that with all the screaming she did, she goes, "Oh, you know." She goes, it was actually kind of therapeutic. You feel kind of relaxed after it because you get to scream everything out.
I really... I didn't know Stick was in it. Scott Glenn, who plays Stick in Daredevil. I didn't know he was in it. That was nice to know. Yeah. How great of a reveal was that when like he's the doorbell's ringing, and so many movies have done that since. I mean, and then the doorbell's ringing, and you're like, oh, he got there, and then the door opens and it's 18. I was just like, oh no. I was freaking out. I was like, no, what? Yeah, it was a good movie. I do
like Stick's character as well though, because I like the way that he deals, with Clarice, as opposed to like how Hannibal deals with Clarice, and it's kind of like, because he knows, like sending Clarice in there, that he says later on, if I sent you in there with an actual agenda, Hannibal Lecter, because Hannibal, for anyone who doesn't know, he was a psychiatrist in real life, and people didn't know he was actually a serial killer who was eating people. So, because he used to be a psychiatrist, nobody can really psychoanalyze him. So he can't send Clarice in there with knowing what the actual agenda is. So he doesn't tell her. He makes her think it's something else. So yeah, it was kind of like, also there's like all these mind games going on, but it was like another mind game between the two of them through her sort of thing. And there's also, I think, I really like Clarice. I really do. Like, I think apparently the FBI, because like when they made the film, of course they, worked with the FBI a lot because it's all about that. But apparently the FBI viewed this as sort of like a female recruiting tool for the FBI. And I really like the way Clarice as an agent is portrayed in this.
I liked how she wasn't completely, stoic. And I like how she had personality, and especially towards the end, she was scared, and that was really refreshing to see in a movie like this, where typically it's just like, the stoic white guy walking and entering into a room and just being like saving the day and being a hero. No, she's like freaking out. She's all jumpy. She's literally checking all the corners, and I set up for that from the beginning. She's looking around. She's like, she'll enter a door and she'll be like, ah, like looking like she'll do what I do at like 3 a.m. when I'm scared. I'll like you open the door and just like run through to make sure there's nothing in the way. It's just like, oh yeah. It's
well, that night vision sequence at the end.
Oh man,
it's great,
and the moment where he reaches out to her just to play with her because she doesn't know that he's there. Yeah, that's just for his enjoyment.
It's just she's just looking up the blanket, and you just see like a hand like not like literally centimeters away from her chin, and it's just like it's silent. And it's just like there, and then she walks away, and he kind of puts his hand back, and I just went, oh my god! Don't breathe like that. Is that what I'm
There's one sequence where it is like that. There's one sequence.
Oh my god! I can't wait.
You see blind guy vision.
Oh man, like that whole thing.
It's just 5 minutes of just a black screen. It's not like Daredevil where they see like the city on fire. No, it's just a black screen.
In 3D. That's not a bad idea. To like have the movie from a blind person's perspective. That's not a bad. That's just ASMR.
There is actually a movie called it's called Notes on Blindness, and I know nothing about it. I'm just told that it's meant to be a really, really great movie to watch if you want to know what it's like to be blind. It's meant to be like one of the best films that's come out this year. I don't know anything about it, but that's just what I've heard.
Oh, right on. Yeah.
That's random, but hey.
But, with Silence of the Lambs, it's because it was based off the book, but it's so well written. Like, because I've seen it a couple of times, and it's like the more you see it, the more you realize little things. Like for example, when Clarice goes to the mental hospital to first see Hannibal Lecter, and there's the sleazy guy who runs the hospital, who's like trying to crack onto her, because everyone tries to crack onto her. And just before so he's kind of like walking down the stairs with her, talking all about Hannibal and that as they get down to the basement where all the psychos are kept. And then just before he's going to go in with her, and she goes, hey, you know, if Lecter views you as an adversary, perhaps it's better if I see him alone. He looks at her and he's like, you know, you could have said this back in my office. He's like, I didn't have to walk all this way down here. And she goes, oh, but then I would have missed the pleasure of your company. But the subtext is, she knew that he was going to tell him more stuff about Lecter on the way down. So she let him walk him all the way down, but she never had any intention of going in. And like little stuff like that, where you realize, wow, she's really smart. Like she did that on purpose.
Yes.
And she was playing him, and like, yeah, she's a really great female character. I really like her. And there's the bit where
she is,
because they deal with like some of the sexism of her being like one of the only like 2 girls on the force sort of thing, and but it's never dealt with in that like try too hard kind of way. Like there's one bit where her superior, he's one of the sheriff there is like, you're outside your jurisdiction, and in order to get the sheriff out of there, he's like, hey, look, you know, sex crime like this, I don't want to talk about it when there's a woman in the room. And he just says that to sort of get the guy out of there. And then later on when they're driving out, he says to her, he said, Clarice, he goes, I know that burned you. He goes, but, you know, that was just smoke. I just wanted to avoid a problem with that. And she just says, you know, it matters.
I loved that.
She's like, I get it. She goes, I get why you did it, but it matters. Because other younger cops, they look at you to see how it acts, so it does matter. And he goes, okay, point taken. And then she just goes back to recording.
That's all it is. That's a great
and I'm like,
exchange.
see, that's how you deal with the feminist stuff. Like that's a true feminist icon, I think. Sorry, I'm not trying to open up that can of worms. It's a compliment, but yeah, I really like Clarice.
No, I mean that can's cracked. I can hear you going. You didn't open it all the way.
There's a crack in it. That's what I mean. She's a genuinely good female character and a genuinely good role model.
Yes.
I think.
Yes, I agree. I think that you can look towards this as, because, you know, going back to her being scared at the end, it was, yes. Oh, the whole thing about the cocoon down the throat, that was that was unsettling. That really shook me too. The whole cocoon down, like you pull out this, like, oh man, and it's like it's a butterfly, it's dead. Ugh. Maybe not just.
But it's also like a symbol of what Buffalo Bill's trying to do. Like, you know.
Yes.
Turn into a butterfly or whatever. But what about that whole prison break for Hannibal Lecter? That whole scene, they filmed that as if that was its own movie in itself, and it feels like it. It's like the whole way he escapes and handcuffs one guard and then eats the other guy's face off.
It's great. Man. And like, and then like when the guy's sitting in the ambulance and the body rises up and just like rips the other guy's face off, I like jumped out of my seat. I was like, whoa. I was like, whoa. I didn't realize that was an option. It was like, it got me off guard. I'm like, he's wearing his face. Oh my God. Like, it was like, what? Oh my God.
He's eating him. And now he's going to eat me. Oh my God.
That was my reaction. He pulled the face. I was like, oh my God. Yes. All right. Oh man.
Yeah, it's a great movie. Highly recommend it for anyone who hasn't seen it. Yeah.
Absolutely. I think everyone should check this film out. Especially if you haven't, even if you know how the movie ends or what happens, it's a movie that you should watch just to respect and very much a lot of influences that this film has clearly had, even though it only came out 27 years ago.
25.
25? Yeah, it's not even 30 years old. There you go.
You know what else I
But
realized?
it's one of those films that you feel like you have already seen.
Yeah.
Because it's got so many cultural references and it's been parodied so many times.
Even
but
if
it's
you
still
haven't
worth
seen
watching.
it, you kind of have. It's like Godfather.
Yeah.
But Trey, I realized watching this.
I haven't seen that either. Yeah.
Trey, I realized Hannibal Lecter, he's from Texas, just like you. And then I remembered you failed the psychopath test. Remember the psychopath test?
Oh, that's right. I did. No, I
got
passed
it wrong.
the psychopath. I think that was it. Right? I think I thought I passed. I thought I did the thing where I was like, I answered differently than everybody else,
Well, I suppose
that typically
you did
takes that
pass
test.
it in sense that, like,
Yeah.
only people who are psychopaths think that way and come up with that answer, and you came up with it. Just if you buy some fava beans, just let me know.
Coming this summer, Black Hannibal.
I don't know if you heard that one, Trilbee.
Nice fried chicken, yes.
I don't know if you heard that one, Trilbee. I think it was on a week that you were away, but I heard there's a certain question that.
What, Black Hannibal? Did someone beat me to it?
No, there's an early episode of the show.
Yeah, there's a certain question that you ask people, and there's an answer. If you answer a certain way, only psychopaths answer in that way. Do you want me to ask you the question? It's really short.
Okay, you go for it.
Okay. Here's the scenario. Okay, there's a girl. She's at the funeral for her mother, right? When she's at the funeral, she meets a guy there, and they kind of hit it off, and she's like, I think he might be the one. But he kind of like disappears before she can get his name or his number or any way to contact him or anything like that. A week later, that girl's sister is murdered. Why? That's the question. Just why? What's the first thought that comes into your head? Why would that happen?
So who killed who killed her?
Wrong. You did that wrong, Bandit.
Wait, what?
The
What was he
question
meant to
is, after the scenario, you did it right, but you forgot to mention the fact that
she
a
kills
week
her
later
sister.
she then kills her sister.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
She kills her sister a week later. Why did she kill her sister?
She likes funerals?
Okay, you're not a psychopath. Good. Well, my first thought was maybe the sister was dating the guy or something, and like, there's only one answer that only psychopaths think of, and Trey thought of it. Do you want to tell us what it is, Trey?
I was like, yeah. I was like, oh, well, she wants to be with the guy again, right? And then Bandit was
she
like,
killed her sister because she figured the guy
like,
would show up at the sister's funeral as well. So that's
funeral,
why she did it. Only psychopaths think like that, and Trey guessed it.
See, to get to that answer, that's some real out-of-the-box thinking.
I guess.
Yeah,
it seemed like
I
common
messed it up
sense
when
to
I asked
me.
you the question. It's supposed to be. But most people
it
just
seems
go,
kind of...
maybe it was the sister's boyfriend she found out, so that's why she killed the sister. So that's what I thought. But only a psychopath will think, she killed her sister, because then she thought the boyfriend would show up at that funeral like he did the mother's funeral.
Obviously, that's the answer. Why does that not make any sense to you guys?
Because psychopaths don't think like that. Only psychopaths think like that.
You guys want to come to me? Come with me. We're gonna have some tea together. You guys want to go have some dinner? I'm down for having some dinner. I like having friends for dinner.
Some fava beans. Oh wait,
right
no.
I love having friends for dinner. It's lovely, isn't it?
Well, I totally made a dog's breakfast of that, but yeah, that's a psychopath question anyway.
It's the thought that counts, I guess.
That sounds lovely.
I think it's back over to you, Trilbee.
I haven't gone yet.
Yeah, I was going to say, Trey.
Sorry, please don't kill me, Trey.
Yeah.
Black Hannibal's coming to get you.
There's some from director Christopher Nolan.
Is this racist? Who knows?
Featuring the very, very black kid as the sidekick. Yeah. No, he's the cop trying to take me down. No.
One of the blackest omens in our world. Black Hannibal.
Rated R. No, there's this movie on Netflix that everyone's been raving about, and I've been wanting. Everyone's like, "You gotta see this movie, Trey." Even my mom was like, "Trey, you gotta see this horror movie. It's great." I'm like, "Really, Mom?" Because she hates horror movies. It's called Hush. And let me give you the breakdown of this because you know how I'm about to spoil. I'm gonna keep this as spoiler-free, simplistic as possible. It is a home invasion movie, but the people being invaded, the woman being invaded, is a deaf woman, and that is your plot. It is a deaf woman being invaded. Yes.
Is this from the guy who directed Oculus?
Yes, Mike Flanagan. What a talented
I want
guy.
to see this.
He's doing the Ouija sequel, and that's the only reason I'm seeing the Ouija
looks
sequel.
so bad.
But he's doing it.
So bad, but he's so good.
You know, it looked
Oculus
bad.
is amazing.
Oculus looked horrible by the trailers. It's a fantastic movie, man.
I thought it looked great from the beginning, but maybe that's just my gift.
Hush goes places in the sense that never once in this movie do you feel like the characters are idiots. The movie has like 5 people in it, and each one of them does not feel like an idiot, and it's so well done. And Mike Flanagan does such a great job of making this movie. And from the get-go, because there's a certain phrase, I think it's called dead space, where in your frame you usually have a character off into one of the thirds of the frame, usually in the left or right side, and whatever's on the other side, it's usually dead space, which should be filled by something. And the house that this woman is in has a lot of windows, and it'll happen like once or twice. You will see something in the window, and you think you see it, but it goes away too quickly, and it messes with you. So, from minute 4 of the movie, you're just like, "What did I see that in the window?" And now you are on edge and you are tense for the entire time because they figure out a way to get past the whole she can't hear the guy in the house thing pretty quickly, and from that point on, it's just like adrenaline filled and exciting and brutal and violent, and it's so good. I was really impressed with this film. I think this is my homework recommendation for you now, and I really do think you guys are going to enjoy it. It's interesting because it's ultimately about 2 or 3 people, but it's not at all. It's not slow in any way possible. It always finds a way to keep something interesting. Just when you think it's going to do it, go and make some repetitions, they find new plot elements to develop and find new plot devices to keep the movie going. It's really well done. I give it a 9 out of 10. I was really impressed with Hush. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Very good. I've heard great things, and I really want to see it because of Mike Flanagan alone. So
yeah. I think maybe it's not his wife, but his girlfriend. In many ways, I think it's a better version of that movie, The Strangers. Have you guys seen The Strangers?
Yeah, not great.
Fine film. It was pretty scary for me, but it takes that concept of someone's in your house and only the audience can see them, and just does that on steroids in a sense. Yeah, it's really good. I think it does. I think it's that it has that hook of being about a deaf woman, but from where it goes from there is just God, it's really good. I really enjoyed it. It was such a refreshing change of pace from after watching Luke Cage for a day.
Because that's a Netflix film, isn't it?
Yes, it is. It's on Netflix. Yeah.
It's not just on Netflix, but it was distributed and made by Netflix, wasn't it?
No, it's a Blumhouse picture.
Okay.
I think it was briefly in select cinemas, but I think it was also a day-and-day release, and it was on VOD and Netflix and whatnot. Yeah, but it's cool. A good film. It's a really good. I really think you'd enjoy it, Bandit. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I might check it out.
Yeah. All right, your turn, Trilbee.
Yeah, let's change courses completely. Let's go for what I think is the best horror comedy ever made, Shaun of the Dead.
Yes.
Because
no, not that one's a classic. Yeah.
The Batman.
It's such a spiffing movie.
Throw it.
Yeah. Yeah, and Purple Rain. Yeah, it's probably the best horror comedy ever because while the main characters do stupid things and are very funny and very likable, the threat is real. There is no question that these zombies are here to kill. They're going to eat brains. They actually do end up killing some of the major characters in the movie. Yes. Spoiler alert! I won't name names if you've not already seen it. Yeah, as opposed to say a scary movie where the villains are just as incapable and just as stupid as the. They're both as stupid as each other, really, the good guys and the bad guys. And I think that's the perfect balance here because my favorite genre of film ever is dramedy, which is basically drama and comedy, and where you get to know Sean, played by Simon Pegg, and Ed, played by Nick Frost. You get to know them as people. They're stupid, but you get to like them through humor. And then in the final act, when they're holed up in this pub, which they decide to use as their last stand to defend themselves from the zombie horde, and things get really dark really quickly and really dramatic, you feel really attached to them and you relate to them on a human level because things do get very dramatic.
Am I the only person that... Wait, are we giving spoilers, or can I give a spoiler, or no?
Just watch Shaun of the Dead, but should we go spoilers?
I think it's 12 years old, Trilby. I think we can go there. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm the only person I feel that doesn't get really sad about Sean's mom. I feel like I know that it's a rough scene to have to shoot your mom, sure, but I see that and I kind of chuckle a bit. I don't know. Maybe it's just because the tone of the film always feels kind of irreverent.
Maybe that's why.
No, it's like, the tone of the film is always kind of irreverent, and it never really takes the threat it takes the threat seriously in the sense that it's a serious threat, but like I never really felt like the characters were actually in danger. So when things got serious and Sean actually had to shoot his mom, it kind of felt more like this is just another comedic bit that they're trying to. I felt like they were trying to more parody sudden dramatic shifts in comedy films than anything by being a dramatic shift in a comedy film. But they made it's up to interpretation, which is another great thing about the films.
Well, see, I never saw that shift at the end. Well, because it's not the fact that Sean has to shoot his mum that gets dramatic. It's the moment when he is standing between David and his mum, and he's going to shoot, and then it's probably Simon Pegg's best moment as an actor when he takes the glass, breaks it on the bar, and shouts, "Don't point that gun at my mum." And it's that moment that gives me goosebumps every time. But it's still got humour in it because these are still human characters, and this is still a comedy at the end. Yeah. And then Nick Frost as Ed breaks another bottle, says, don't point that gun at Barbara, and then this is not fair, so he hands somebody else a broken bottle, so that it's a Mexican standoff of broken bottles to make it fair, so that everyone has one.
I think that bit in The World's End where they're in the bar, and like what's Simon Pegg's character's name in that movie?
Gary King.
Yeah, where Gary and
that's just as dramatic, I think.
Where they have that bit at the very end, he's just like, "It's all I have," and like he jumps over the bar. I think that moment gets me a lot more than the whole mom bit. But that's just my. I like The World's End. The World's End is my favorite of the trilogy. That's just my personal opinion.
Shaun of the Dead's my favorite. Shaun of the Dead's my favorite. Hot Fuzz is the funniest. World's End is the best.
I can get behind that. I
think it's the smartest, The World's End. It's the most in-depth, it's got the most subtext, and it's the most well-made.
WTF. What the fuck does WTF mean? Well, yeah, that's my favorite line of that movie when they're in the bathroom. I love that movie so much.
Shots! S-H-O-T-S! Shots! What are you doing, Gary? I thought I said shots.
Here you are drinking effing rain. I love that. Oh, that movie's so good.
Rain.
Like, there's no way, like, that's good writing, because there's no way that line should work, but it does. Oh, man. Anyways, that's just back to Sean.
Arthur, when he goes to Camelot or whatever, and he sits down at his round table, he's not drinking, like, water. No, of course not, because they didn't have running water in those times. Exactly. He would have had a mead.
Are you saying the Bible's written by Alexander Dumas? Don't be cross, man. It was written by Jesus. Oh, my God. We called her the beast because she was pretty hairy. Sorry, I can just quote that movie all day. I love that. It's
wonderful,
movie.
But I do love because the entire cast of Shaun of the Dead are really funny and they work so well together. It's just full of so many iconic moments which you found their way into the public lexicon. Like when they go out the Winchester drunk and they're singing, and then there's the zombie down the street that's kind of singing along with them.
Yeah.
And they've got this running gag about their housemate Pete. Played by Peter Serafinowicz, whatever. The Tick, Darth Maul.
Yes.
Brian Butterfield.
That guy in Guardians, yeah.
Yeah, what a bunch of a-holes. That guy.
I like the
bit. No, he's not in.
I like the bit where they lock the stepdad in the car and he's saying to his mum, "There's nothing about that man that is your husband anymore," and he turns the music off. In his zombie form, remember that? He turns the
Bill
music
Nye,
off.
yes.
He's like, let's move on.
Go to the Winchester, wait for all this to blow over.
Oh man, that is that trilogy is really good though. The Tornado trilogy itself, like that's
when Hot Fuzz is the weakest film in a trilogy, that's an amazing trilogy.
Yeah, I think Hot Fuzz
at World's End. What is
it? The World's End.
That's the World's End. That's my favorite.
Okay, I'll put it on
the World's End. It's the same thing though. Martin Freeman's in it, but I think Hot Fuzz works better as a really cool action movie that happens to have comedy in it. I think that's why I like Hot Fuzz. But like The World's End to me, this feels like a genuinely good film that happens to be really funny.
Shaun of the Dead. I think them.
Yeah, like
it's the one killer actually.
The greater God For the greater good.
No, we're catching them swans then. It's because the one swan, actually.
Angle, it's Angel.
Oh, I know that kid. Why didn't you say so before? Couldn't see him. He had the hoodie on. Right after he's got the whole bit of
You must.
just because he's got a hoodie.
Those two mustached cops are the best part of that movie. Those two mustachioed cops.
Oh, yeah. You've got a
Like the
mustache.
best.
I know.
That's a good
Don't
movie
worry,
too,
mate.
Mike.
It's just bolognese.
For the greater good, the greater shot at. Oh man.
Yeah, he lives down the road with his mum and his sister. Are they as big as he is? Who? His mum and his sister. Same person.
And then the ending when like the spike goes through Timothy Dalton's like
it's
chin,
so brutal.
and he's like still living. Oh man, that's a
On
very
ice cream.
violent film. Oh boy.
But yeah, Shaun of the Dead. Just watch the whole trilogy, but Shaun of the
do a
Dead.
Cornetto trilogy episode, man. We could do a whole episode.
I could talk for hours and hours about how much I love that trilogy.
Like how the world
do
then
that.
ruins the entire movie in the first 2 minutes. Like the first 2 minutes is just a recap of what's going to happen in the film. It's Edgar Wright is a genius filmmaker. I kind of isn't his next movie happening like next year with 10 Edgerton or whatever? That's happening soon.
What's it
Baby
called?
Driver.
I think it's got.
Driver, isn't it?
Hasn't it got Johnny Depp in it, or did I read that wrong?
It's got John Hamm in it. I think it's John Hamm.
John Hamm,
Taron
Ansel
Egerton.
Elgort, Lily James, Jamie Foxx. Baby Driver comes out March next year.
Excited. Because Scott Pilgrim's great too. If you guys haven't seen Scott Pilgrim versus the World,
I'm so glad he took that gap to do Scott Pilgrim between Hot Fuzz and The World's End, because The World's End really benefits from the experience he's gotten from Scott Pilgrim. The World's End is the biggest reeks of an experienced director working on it.
Yes, like this, everything just feels so minute, and the detail and the editing. Just I love like Edgar Wright and Matthew Vaughn are like up there for like the hyper stylized filmmakers. And just like those two are just so talented. Anyways, horror movie. Back to the horror discussion. Is that a reference to Young Frankenstein? I thought that might be a reference to Young Frankenstein.
Who the hell put this on? It's on random. And then Queen starts playing.
Oh yeah. Oh man, that's a good movie. I gotta go back and watch that movie again. All right, do you have another one? Bandit?
My next horror movie also has some funny bits and some unintentionally funny bits, but it's not what you would call a comedy. But it's really good horror movie. It's an Australian horror movie called Wolf Creek. And Wolf Creek does have a sequel.
Ooh.
But Wolf Creek is a movie that's basically takes the idea, what if Crocodile Dundee turned out to be a crazy serial killer? And it goes with that.
That's not a knife.
This is a knife. Like you watch Crocodile Dundee where, like, the start of the movie, she goes and she meets Crocodile Dundee and he's charming and he takes her out in the bush. Well, what if once he got out in the bush, he suddenly didn't seem so charming? That's pretty much Wolf Creek. And it's based actually off, like the main villain is called Mick Taylor, as a reference to like Mick Dundee, but he's also based off Ivan Milat, who was a real-life serial killer, who is the backpack killer who killed a lot of British backpackers who would backpack around Australia throughout the time. And it's...
I'm too lazy to backpack, I'm safe.
And like they weave in a lot of like real stuff that this real guy did, like head on a stick. He had a way that he'd like stab people in the back that would sever their spinal cord so that they'd essentially be paralyzed, but they'd still be conscious of everything that would go on. And like Ivan Milat, he'd hunt not just women, he'd hunt women and men, and like in groups or individually. He sort of like broke the rules of like serial killers in that way. And like Mick Taylor's a lot like that in this. But it's a really good movie because it's like it actually, most of it's filmed chronologically. So from beginning to end is pretty much how they filmed it. And it sort of starts with these two British girls meet this Aussie guy from Sydney who's in the Northern Territory, who's like way on the other side of the country. And they decide the three of them are going to jump in this car and drive across the desert. And they drive across the desert and they go to this national park called Wolf Creek. And their engine conks out. And they're sort of stuck out there in the middle of nowhere. And lo and behold, this lovely, charming Aussie guy comes out in the middle of the night and is like, "What are you blokes doing out here? No worries, me farm's right over there. I can help you out." And they're like, "Oh, what a great guy." And he tows them to his camp. And it's this old abandoned sort of outback, sort of like a shearing farm. And he says that there's like these old abandoned shearing farms that are like scattered all across the desert, and like lots of people don't even know where half of them are, all this sort of stuff. And he's chatting away, and they all have a drink of water. They're all pretty tired, and they all suddenly pass out because there's like drugs in the water. And that's when things start to get really weird. They all wake up in various situations, like the guy's actually crucified, and all this. But yeah, it's like got some intense like gore stuff for like people who are into that kind of stuff. But also like it sort of usurps certain things that you think will happen in these kind of movies. Like, often in movies, like, someone's like, you're like, why can't you escape? You could escape from that situation. When this one, they actually do. And instead of running away, they'll go back and try to help the others that are stuck there and stuff like this. But it's a really good movie, but it's funny because there's lots of gore and there's genuinely scary moments, and it's got that undercurrent of, that a lot of it's based off real life. But the director said it's funny because there were moments where, like, all of them kind of bonded so well that they'd kind of forget that they were filming a horror movie at certain points. So there's these weird bits that are actually pretty damn funny, where you're not supposed to be laughing, but you should. Like, there's this one bit where one of the girls manages to escape, and she jumps in a car because he's got like a garage full of all the cars of all different people that he's sort of, brought to this place and killed in different ways. And she's racing off with this car, and he comes out after her with this like hotted up sort of V8 thing, and he like pulls up. He's like, because it's like so fast she can't get away. She's in this slow, crappy old car, and he pulls up next to her, and he's like, he does this kind of thing, like he's doing sort of like a Fonzie, where he's just kind of like, "Hey," to her. She's driving. And he's making all these weird faces at her, like, "Hey, baby, hey," and you can't help but laugh, even though you've just seen him do all these horrendous things. So it's a really cool movie because it's got like genuinely scary bits, but genuinely funny bits, and highly recommend it.
Okay.
Wolf Creek.
All right. Yeah. Wolf Creek. Right on.
There is a sequel.
I feel like it's
There is a sequel to it as well, which the sequel's pretty good. They kind of lift the game in terms of like what's the word, like all the gore and stuff, and sort of like expanding out on what like Mick Taylor's life is. They sort of lift the game on that, but the story's not quite as good. But the first one's really solid, and the guy who plays Mick Taylor, it's funny because he said to play that character, he said he kind of based it off two people, because he's got like Mick Taylor's like public face of like the mask that he puts on, which the actor said, he based that off of his dad, which is kind of like the classic Aussie stereotype, and like the idea is that this killer puts that on in order to lure tourists in, sort of thing. Kind of like, again, Ivan Milat would do that. And he said, he goes, I based that side off my dad, because my dad was like that. He goes, but then there's the other side of Mick Taylor. And but he said what was interesting is, like, because they were filming in the outback, and a lot of it happened, like the scenes that they shot during the night. And of course, in the outback at night, it gets freezing cold. But Mick Taylor, he's just wearing like a flannelette shirt with like the arms cut off. So of course, you're not very... That's like ice cold in the desert, you freeze to death. And he said he was always freezing to death, but whenever they call action and he'd go into character as Mick Taylor, he just didn't feel the cold anymore. And he said that kind of weirded him out, because when he was in character as Mick Taylor, he just couldn't feel the cold anymore, because Mick Taylor wouldn't care about stuff like that. And he said, he goes, in an interview later, he's like, I don't know, he goes, that role's kind of done some weird things to me, he goes, because like, he goes, just the other day, like, I was down in a store and I was like walking out of like a milk bar, and some woman was walking in, and I just held the door open for her as she walked through. And as she walked through, I kind of winked at her and went, and he goes, I never do stuff like that. He goes, but Mick Taylor would do stuff like that. And he's like, uh-oh. Kind of like it had worked its way into his subconscious, where he's like, oh boy. So yeah, it's Really good movie. Highly recommend it.
He's going. He's pulling a Jared Leto from the sounds of it. I see. Yes, I understand.
It's a bit of Jared Leto.
Yeah, going a little intense with this. Okay. Well, yeah, I'm gonna add that to my list of homework for losing. All right.
Yeah, but
well,
no,
to be completely fair, I was trying to think about, because I really want to talk about The Conjuring again, but I'm trying to think about how many times I've spoken of The Conjuring on this show. It's got to be like 3 times at this point, right? I feel like I've talked about that movie a lot.
Yeah, I have talked about it a lot.
I love that movie. But it's probably my favorite horror film. I love that movie. But Trilbee, you haven't seen it yet, Bandit, have you? I told you to watch that film probably 3 times now. Have you seen it yet?
No.
Shame.
Well, you've not seen The Conjuring?
It's awesome. You gotta check it out. What does that mean? What does that mean?
Good.
Spiffing. Okay.
I'm guessing.
Don't say that. You really should. I really do think you would enjoy The Conjuring. I'm serious. I'm being completely serious.
Oh, maybe I will.
It's it's one of those
movies on my list though. If homework to see.
All right. We'll put The Conjuring on like number 2 behind I don't know, Hush. Probably. Hush is probably.
I got Hush.
That'll be a double feature.
Oh, yeah, we'll watch The World's End first. There you go. Never mind. Yeah, watch The World's End, and then The Conjuring, and then Hush. You have time. Do it during one of your weird daylight sequences where you're tripping out because you realize how nice the world is. Just go back.
Oh god, the world's too nice. I've got to watch some brutal horror film.
Oh, the world's too nice. Time to go get some demons.
Man, I thought if I stepped out these doors, it would be like Wolf Creek.
Oh no!
So,
but
what has Wolf Creek done to the Australian tourism industry? Has it turned people away? Has it made people afraid?
I don't think so. But
Has it done to Australians what Jaws did for beach tourism?
Well, not the first one, but I was worried the second one might, because the second one, the whole campaign was like, never ever stop in the outback, and like the whole thing of Mick Taylor is like, yeah, you tourists are foreign vermin. You need to be exterminated. And I was like, I hope this isn't outside of Australia. It's not going to help with tourism, but I don't think it was outside of Australia, so it's fine.
Fair enough.
Really,
I kind of don't want to go to the outback anyways. I'm not a spider guy. I'm not a spider guy. I'm not a snake guy. I really don't want to like get back there and see like a 3-foot spider like riding a snake or something. I can't do that. I really...
A spider riding a snake, riding a shark that's as big as Jaws.
And that's all fighting a kangaroo. Yeah. No,
riding a dingo, eating a baby.
Careful. That's an offensive Australian term, apparently. Yeah, but yeah. So Ben, you should you need to add The Conjuring to your list. That's been on there for a long time. It is truly a great movie.
Sure.
Okay. Do you have any other horror films you want to talk about, Trilbee?
I have one. Okay, right. If Jaws prevented people from going back in the water and Wolf Creek prevented people from going to Australia, Jason X will make sure I never go into space.
That was Gravity's job. Did that for me just fine. I'm okay.
Jason X was the Gravity before Gravity.
Bandit hates Gravity, so there you go.
We all hate Gravity.
I love that movie.
So if it's awesome. Jason,
I thought you meant Gravity as a concept
in space. That's great. Maybe he'll find Sandra Bullock and machete her or something.
So going back to Gravity, there is one moment that's like obviously wrong because like when spoilers for Gravity, right before George Clooney's character dies, he's like dangling, right? And he's like about to be like, oh, she could have just tugged on him. Like that's really all she had to do, right? Like just give him a little tug and he's back towards the spaceship. But whatever, it's a dramatic.
When she cries, tears go down the cheek instead of floating.
Yeah. When she cries, it all kind of like floats off her, even though it should always kind of be like a blob on her face. That's how water works in space. But hey, that rhymed. Yeah, but I do really still enjoy. I adore that movie. But anyways, Jason X.
Jason X is a terrible movie. I'm not here saying that it is a good movie or a good horror. But
no one's talked about The Exorcist yet, but we're talking about Jason X.
It is possibly the most fun I've ever had watching a horror movie, because Jason Goes to Space, it basically opens where he is it's set in 2010, because this is a 2001 movie, and it needs to be set in the future. This is 2010, so this movie is past tense. And Jason Voorhees has been kidnapped and he's being held at Crystal Lake Research Facility. And because they discovered that the reason he can't die is because he has Wolverine-esque healing powers. So they decide to just freeze him forever. Because he literally can never die. What happens is that they try to freeze him, he causes the cryogenic pod to malfunction so that it opens in the year 2455, and he wakes up on a spaceship and starts killing everyone he sees because it's Jason Voorhees. Now this is very, very stupid. And what happened? His first kill is actually really, really good. He wakes up. There's basically in the future all of the women wear skimpy clothing, even though they're in space because it's space. And there's this one. He's thawing on this table, this operating table, and he sits up, and it's actually a really good jump scare. And he disappears from the table while this skimpily clad lady, who's meant to be a doctor, is trying to find him. And then he jumps behind her, grabs her head, and puts it in a sink filled with what's it called? The frozen stuff. T-1000 was frozen in it. Liquid nitrogen. I don't know how I forgot. He basically gets her face, puts it in liquid nitrogen, takes it out, and then smashes her frozen face on the side. And it is one of the coolest kills in a Friday the 13th movie.
That's great.
And he tries to kill all of these people, but there's an android called KM-14, played by Lisa Ryder, who just basically decapitates him with machine guns, and then Jason is dead. But he just so happened to die next to a cellular regeneration pod, which has lots of nanomachines, and then the nanomachines bond with Jason, and he becomes a giant cyborg. And then cyborg Jason starts killing everybody on the spaceship.
Wow.
And there's a great scene where he goes into this pod to kill this guy, and everyone's left the pod except this one guy who's like, "Oh, I'll hold him off." And he goes in and he slowly approaches the guy. He doesn't say a word. And then he just simply takes his machete on the side and goes to walk away. And then the guy says, "It's okay, everyone. He just wanted his machete back." And then he just hacks the guy to death. And then they decide, what we need to do, we need to kill this guy. We need to kill Jason, so we're going to crash the ship. We're going to send it to Earth and crash land.
Like,
so
why
that
don't we seal him off and blow him into space alien style? None of them think of that?
They do try that. They do try to throw him into space, but he just carries on. Okay. He just flies through space and tries to kill him.
You mentioned an android. Mm-hmm. Is there a Jason versus an android fight?
There is, and there is one, and
like
he
Jason
decapitates her.
Ash from Alien. That'd be a cool fight.
He decapitates her, and then she's just like a David from Prometheus-esque head for the rest of the film.
Is she like?
And what they do to
they have the milky blood thing, like in Alien, going where he's like spewing it all up. Is she doing that?
Oh, this cyborg's filled with milk. He just punches her head off, I believe. He just punches her head, and then it just comes clean off. Which is reminiscent of Jason Goes to Manhattan when he just punches this guy and his head comes clean off.
Yeah, that's right. That does happen in that film.
And one of my probably the best part of the entire Friday the 13th franchise is in Jason X. I can't remember which film it is, but there's I can't talk. It might be the fourth or fifth one when he kills this girl in a sleeping bag by hitting her against a tree, and then she's dead. Yes. She's in a sleeping bag. He picks up the sleeping bag, hits it against a tree once, and then he's dead. What happens is that in order to distract him, he goes
against the tree.
Except it's just one time, and then one time against the tree, and then she dies. But towards the end of the film, they have a plan to kill him, and in order to distract him, he goes onto the holodeck, and they decide to recreate Crystal Lake to distract him. And what he does is that we need to distract Jason, find someone for him to kill in this holodeck. And then these two women appear in front of him in sleeping bags who are like, "Oh, Jason, come with us for premarital sex. We love premarital sex," which is an actual quote. And then 2 minutes later, it just cuts to Jason.
Is it really?
It's an actual quote. And then a minute later, it just cuts to Jason beating these two women to death with each other while they're in their sleeping bags. There's a sleeping bag on the floor, and he is hitting that sleeping bag with the other sleeping bag. And every time it makes contact, you hear women go, ow. Like, ow, ow. And then he just hits one against the tree. And then they're both dead. And it's possibly the best Friday the 13th moments I've ever seen.
That sounds
all
great.
right.
It is so much fun. It is a fun, stupid horror film that is terrible.
Okay.
So yeah,
I mean,
the ship.
Yeah.
So the ship explodes, and then they're like, "Oh, we've killed Jason," and they're in an escape pod, and then they just see Jason flying towards them through space,
Superman style.
basically. And then he gets intercepted by somebody else, and then they just go and they burn in Earth's orbit, and then at the end, you can just see Jason's mask at the bottom of a lake, and then that's the end of the film, and it's so much fun.
Wow, man.
Is it that one, or is it Jason Goes to Hell where it ends, where you see like a Freddy claw like scratch against the mask or something?
That's Jason Goes to Hell, which was the film before this one. They were making Freddy vs. Jason, but they were caught up in it was in so much development hell. They thought, let's just make Jason X while we make Freddy vs. Jason to like keep fans satisfied. And I'm the only person satisfied with this film.
I really want a found footage Friday the 13th movie. I think we've had this conversation before, Trilbee. I know how you. I
Buy a sleeping bag.
Trick or treat. Yeah, no, but I think that's such a cool idea to have a Friday the 13th movie done found footage style. It's something that I think, because you would never think to combine those two genres essentially, but like that's just something that makes me really excited to think about how well that can be done. I don't know.
But they're saying that there's going to be the new Halloween film, which will come out next October, supposedly. And there's going to be apparently a new Friday the 13th coming out at some point next year. Now, there are only 2 Friday the 13ths in 2017. One of them is in January, which is not going to happen. But then they're not going to make a movie in time for January. The other one is in October. So will Friday the 13th and Halloween have a box office fight? I hope so.
They're probably both going to fail miserably if Blair Witch is anything to go by. That had a huge marketing campaign. It was a lot of buzz around it, and then no one saw it. You know why? Because R-rated horror films don't do that well. That's all I'm saying. If you
Unless you don't breathe.
Yeah, that's like the accepted. You know why? Because it's a genuine good film. You know what I'm saying? If you have a crappy film that's a horror movie, don't have it be R-rated because the teenage market is not going to go to an R-rated movie. At least it's harder to get in, and if they are, they're not going to pay for it. Typically, you know what I'm saying?
I've not seen Blair Witch yet, but I am told it is just a redo of the original Blair Witch. I'm told it's just a beat-for-beat remake.
I hear there's some new stuff in it. I haven't seen it. I hear that they do, at least from what I've heard, that they do certain things that the original did not do. But I do also hear that the creepiness factor of the original, where they kind of take the approach of like people just kind of wake up and people are just kind of gone, that kind of disappears because we see people die in this version, which I'm kind of I'm not all for. I'm not a big fan of the original, but still, like, you know, when they wake up and Josh is just gone, that's kind of creepy to be like, oh, he just disappeared in the night. Right on. Yeah. Anyways.
But yeah, Jason X is an insult to put it next to Silence of the Lambs or The Conjuring or any of these other things. Good. I know. It is really terrible.
Not. It sounds like the Terminator Genesis of horror movies.
It's not as
I'm going to love it.
Terminator Genesis is a bad movie.
I'm actually going to find that movie and watch it. It sounds awesome.
Jason X is the dumbest Friday the 13th movie, and this is a franchise where Jason isn't even in Jason Goes to Hell, and instead some random person just eats his heart and becomes Jason. Jason X is dumber than that, but it is so much fun.
Doesn't Jason Take Manhattan take place on a boat? It's not even like in Manhattan.
There's like 2 scenes in Manhattan, and one of them he's just walking down Times Square. There are these teenagers just listening to a tape deck. He just walks down the street and kicks that tape deck.
Oh,
because he is
no
Jason.
One likes a bully. No one likes being a bully, Jason. You gotta play fair, yeah.
But
actually,
Freddy vs. Jason, that opening bed kill is amazing.
Yeah. While we're talking about funny movies, can I just quickly throw in one last movie? Which is Tucker and Dale.
Yes.
Tucker and
Top
Dale.
Jason X.
Tucker and Dale versus
I wanted to talk about it. I wanted to talk about it, but then I thought I can't do Shaun of the Dead and Tucker and Dale.
Oh, great. Well, let's talk about it.
Let's do it.
It's so good.
We might as well just Cabin in the Woods while we're at it.
Hang on. For anyone who doesn't know, Tucker and Dale versus Evil. It's a movie where it's a comedy, and it's a comedy of errors, but it's about these two hillbilly sort of redneck guys, Tucker and Dale, and they're nice guys, they're good guys, but there's this group of college kids who go out camping in the woods, and because these college kids have got this whole idea of hillbillies being like the Deliverance style, redneck psycho killers, like everything that Tucker and Dale do to like be friendly is misinterpreted in some way to come across as them being creepy. Like Dale is like, there's one of the girls he likes, he's like, oh, I'm gonna go talk to her. He's like, yeah. He goes like, no matter what happens, just smile and laugh. That shows confidence. And he's like, oh, okay. So he walks over there, but he's actually got a scythe that they're using for farming, and he forgets he's holding it. So he walks over to them with this big scythe, like death.
And he's so nervous, so he's just like
nervous,
looking at them and breathing slowly.
He's like, so, you going camping? And they're like, let's get out of here. He's like, see, I told you, Dale. I told you, Tucker. And there's a bit where, like, one of the girls sort of, like, slips and hits her head and falls in the lake. So they go and they grab her and they pull her out and pull her in their boat. And they cross on the other side of the lake. They're like, the hillbillies got Allison. And they're like, hey, we got your friend. And they're like, they've got Allison. Ah! It's really good.
It's in the trailer, so it might not be a spoiler, but Alan Tudyk plays Tucker, and he's so funny in the film. And he's by this wood chipper. They're being completely innocent. He's just working, and one of the teenagers just runs towards him and jumps at him. He jumps out of the way, and the kid goes to the wood chipper. And and Alan Tudyk is grabbing his legs, trying to get him out. And then his friends come around the corner, and they just see Alan Tudyk supposedly putting him in the wood chipper.
Yeah.
And then when his friend comes along, he's just like, Dale, these teenagers are just killing themselves around us. Is this some suicide cult?
Yeah. Because at that point, they're convinced that they're serial killers, because they go to the cabin to get their friend back, and Tucker is like chainsawing into a tree, and he chainsaws into it and he hits like a bee's nest, so all these bees come out, so he's like and he's like swinging the chainsaw around at these bees, so they just see him come running around the corner with his chainsaw going so they're convinced that these guys are psycho killers, but it's hilarious, and there's a few twists. There does turn out to be a genuine bad guy in it, but it's so funny. It's a great movie. And that's on Netflix too now.
Yeah, you can probably on Netflix. It's for that crowd. It's really, really funny.
Have we talked about Cabin in the Woods on this show? That's another great meta horror comedy. Since we're talking, so we potentially just jumped into that subgenre here. That's another great. How much time do we have here? What are we sitting at?
Been about 2 hours.
That's 2 hours.
We make time for Jason X. Well, we can make time for Cabin. We can make time for Cabin.
We spend a lot of time in edit points. Yes, I was just saying that we have a lot of it's gonna be about 2 hours without the edit points taken out. So that's all I'm saying. Like we did, the Skype calls 2.5 hours. But if we can jump to listener questions, you guys want to jump to listener questions because there are a lot to this week.
Well,
yeah.
All right.
Basically, go see Cabin in the Woods with no spoilers.
Yes, fantastic film. Yes, watch out for that jump scare at the beginning.
Are you even listening to me? Boom.
It's a great movie, man. Joss Whedon, man. Robot Chicken is a great Cabin in the Woods sketch that they did a couple years ago. That's pretty funny. Anyways, listener questions.
Listener questions.
Right on.
Excuse me. I'd like to ask you a few questions.
All right, guys. This is the Jesus. Let's start this over. I'm out of it. All right, guys. This is the listener question portion of the show. In which case, we answer your listener questions on the Facebook page. For starters, here, Luke Thomas on Facebook asked, "If you had to be a horror movie villain, who would you be?"
I think Freddy Krueger.
I was going to say, be careful, because one is a child molester.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Well, killer, child molester. You're just dealing with different shades of evil.
All right, Shelby. Right on. All right.
Or maybe Hannibal Lecter. You're a Kenya bubble.
Well, hey Trey, that's going to be
which is
out of context quote for this week. Like you've got your
child molestation, murder. It's all the same. It's all the same.
Murder, not as bad as pedophilia.
That's our shirt. Oh man.
No, but with Freddy Krueger, you've got a lot of free reign to just be really, really creative with your kills, and everyone's at your mercy. Even more so if you were maybe like an immortal slasher villain or something, because the dream world is your domain.
Can I be Scary Terry from Rick and Morty? Can I be like this cheap knockoff of Freddy Krueger from that Rick and Morty episode where they go inside the dreams? I love that guy so much. Do you know what I'm referring to, Bandit? Do you remember that episode where they go into the principal's head and keep going into like different layers of the dreams? And like there's like a Freddy Krueger knockoff there. He's got swords for fingers. Anyways,
that's right.
I think if I had to be any horror icon.
Go ahead. Yep.
Hello. Yep. No, sorry. If I had to be any horror icon, I don't know. I'm down for being like a. Can I be Satan from like The Exorcist or like Rosemary Baby? Can I just be like Satan? I'm down for being Satan. Or can I be like Satan from like?
That's another great out of context quote. I'm down for being Satan.
I thought you want to be the Joker or something.
Joker's not a horror movie icon. That's different.
Oh, yeah. Everyone dressed up like him for Halloween.
Yeah. I don't know. The Hannibal Lecter's a good one.
Yeah, I was going to say Hannibal Lecter because at least he's a little bit like a Dexter. He's got a code that he'll only go after people that kind of deserve it, you know? So at least if you're that serial killer, you can still kind of be like, but I'm cleaning up the streets, you know? So
I don't know if those cops deserved it, but whatever. The people guarding the cell, they were just doing this job. I mean, like, you know what I'm saying?
Well, hey, you can't make really an omelet without breaking a few cops' faces. That's the saying.
Like the old saying goes.
He beat me by.
I want to be the shark from Jaws.
Actually, you know what, Philly? That's my new answer. Good job. No, you can be the shark from Jaws, and I'll be Jaws in space. I'll be the xenomorph from Alien. I got you. There. Done.
What about the shark from The Shallows? Because that shark didn't give any Fs.
No. That's a good movie, though. Like, I love how 90s action movie it got towards the end, too. It's great.
Oh, it was because me and my girlfriend watched it, and at the exact same time I said, "This is awesome." She said, "This is bloody stupid." It was the exact same moment.
What moment was it? Was it the point where like everything caught fire?
It was the whale oil.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I was
it was at that moment.
I was like, this is awesome. It became like a 90s action movie with like Jean-Claude Van Damme versus a shark. Did you hear about that Jason Statham movie, Meg, where he's like, shark. Yes, I'm so excited for that stupid, dumb movie. But I thought The Shadow was a legitimately well done film, but whatever.
Mm-hmm.
What about you, Ben? Did you said Hannibal Lecter? Yes.
Yeah, I'd probably go with him. It's so hard to pick one, isn't it? you want to pick one that's kind of not all bad, but maybe he also has some fun, you know, but isn't too awful. You know, it's really hard to think of one.
Absolutely. What about? Do you have another question here? Because I have one here, if you don't mind me asking.
Yeah, I'm just trying to have a look through them.
Okay. Well, while you're looking through there, unless you just found one, I'll ask. Sean Alexander on Facebook asks. He says, "What are your least favorite horror movie tropes? For example, like the black guy dying first, or teens having sex." And I just answered my own question. It's always. I mean, I think it's always nice to see movies where the black guy goes. Not even like dies first, but just dies in general. Like Kong Skull Island makes me really interested because there's like 3 or 4 black guys in that cast, and I'm like, my bet two of you are gone like first 10 minutes of the movie. Like John Goodman's gonna shoot one of you. I absolutely no doubt John Goodman's gonna shoot one of you, and then Kong's gonna step on the other one. Or like Trilbee said, they're all gonna be in one helicopter. It's just gonna crash. Yeah, I know, but the whole black guy dying first thing does get a little irritating. But more than that, I really, really hate jump scares. If that makes any sense, I can't stand I like a good jump scare, but jump scares to me just ruin the whole concept of like tension. And the reason like a movie like The Conjuring again or Insidious work, The Conjuring more so than Insidious, is because they let you build to the jump scare. You know, everyone's seen that from The Conjuring. The reason that jump scare works is because they spent like 5 minutes just building and build. It's like a tightening a string on an instrument, and eventually it's just going to snap. As opposed to this movie just being a bunch of jump scares over and over and over again. You kind of have to have that build. But yeah, whatever. What about you, Trilbee?
There's two. The boyfriend did it, which after Scream, you can never do that anymore because Scream and Scream 2 made fun of that trope so perfectly.
Scary movie. Scary movie. I'm gay, Sydney. So is Ray. What? No, I'm not. Like, you know, his shirt, it's like this tie-up knot, like he's wearing like this half crop top shirt. I love Scary movie. We talked about that last week, didn't we?
Yeah.
Oh man, sorry. Go ahead, Trilbee. Sorry.
And also, just tripping over nothing, running away from the bad guy, and you trip over nothing.
Though to be fair, it's really easy to trip over something in the hallway if you're moving. Like at school, I'll be walking to class. I have to get not trying to be late to class, and like because I'm outside in these things like portables, which are like kind of like trailer classrooms because there's not enough classrooms inside the school, and I have to get from the portables to like the third floor of a building in like 6 minutes, and so I'm just trying to like walk to this building really fast, and if you're not careful you will trip yourself because there's just not enough traction on your feet, and there's like your shoes are gripping the floor so much that you just kind of like stop in your tracks and you trip over nothing. It happens. Any of you guys ever fallen up the stairs? That happened to me before, where you fell.
When you are being chased by, say, Leatherface, then you're going to be paying extra attention to not trip.
Yeah, that is entirely true. You will definitely. to be fair, I'm always under the impression of like if someone's like coming after you, why don't you rush them? You know what I'm saying? Like if there's like 4 or 5
I'm not
of you,
rushing Leatherface.
if there are like 4 or 5 of you, why don't you rush them? That's all I'm saying. All I'm saying. I mean, I don't want any don't breathe spoilers, but that was when I first saw the trailer. I was like, why don't they just rush them? I'm sure they answer that in the film, but whatever. Anyways, that's neither here nor there. What about you, Bandit?
Oh, I had a good one, but it just flew out of my head. Oh, I don't like the horror movie trope of where people, whether they're whatever thing they're facing, whether it's like a Freddy Krueger or a Jason Voorhees or whatever. Like, often they're, like, in a situation where they could ask people for help, but they don't for reasons, you know? Or, like, if there's a cop, it's like, ask the cop for help, but they're like, oh, they'll never believe me. It's like, well, try! Are you willing to bet your life on that? Because you are. You know, it's...
Funny enough, The Conjuring 2 gets really into that whole asking people for help kind of thing. That's kind of the entire plot of The Conjuring 2. But anyway, keep going.
Of course, and you need to watch The Conjuring 1 in order to get to The Conjuring 2.
Yeah, absolutely. This might be his new Harry Potter. You haven't even finished Harry Potter yet? Oh, man. Harry Potter's good. I know it's your problem, man. Harry Potter's great.
Hey, Trey, did you see that new Fantastic Beasts trailer?
It looks alright, yeah.
That was a pretty cool trailer.
It was alright. It was okay.
Oh okay. Oh.
I'm not impressed yet. They haven't.
Thanks, Trey. Now I look like an idiot in front of my cool new friends.
Guess who Marvel and IMAX sent tickets to Doctor Strange to?
Bandit? Oh. You...
So yeah, I got invited to see Doctor Strange at their special IMAX event on October 10th. That's kind of fun.
Very cool.
Anyways, so I started out there.
Wait, October 10th?
Yes.
That's soon?
Yeah. Well, Civil War had this... I know. Yeah, isn't it? It's called an early birthday gift. That's all I'm saying. Yeah.
Wow.
Sorry. I feel like I forgot to say it at the start of the show, and I thought I'd just throw that out there now. Anyways, you have a question, Bandit?
Yeah, I did. Where is it? I gotta find it again now. Do you have another one in the meantime? Or?
Great question. Chase Berry asks, what horror movie would you recommend for someone who doesn't really watch them?
Shaun of the Dead?
No, because Shaun of the Dead's a comedy, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
the remake of The Evil Dead.
Ooh, that's a good one.
A baptism
it's
of
for
fire.
someone who doesn't normally watch them, so wouldn't it be better to start them off on a
Right in the deep end.
Throw them in the deep
No. Well, there's an extreme. Trilbee's like throw him in the shallow end, and Bandit's like, no, give him a floaty and put him in 1 foot of water.
Open the tree rape. That's the thing that you need to watch.
That's the first. No. The girl cutting her tongue in half after drilling the guy in the arm.
And the boiling water.
Just brutal. That's a good movie. Then no. I think Lights Out is a great starter horror film. I think a good horror film for people who don't like horror movies is a film that can transcend its genre and do something clever with its idea, and which is I keep throwing the praises of The Conjuring, but The Conjuring does that very well. And also I think Lights Out was a recent example. I haven't seen Don't Breathe yet, but I think Lights Out was a recent example that did it really well, and I think that's another good horror from people who don't really like horror movies. Hush is another good one. Oculus is probably the best answer.
Well, it might be worth tailoring the answer to why have you not watched any horror films. If you've got an aversion to blood, then maybe something like The Conjuring would be a good introduction. If you don't like supernatural stuff, maybe a slasher film like the original Friday the 13th. Maybe something older to maybe ease you into the genre, something that's maybe a little bit dated that you could laugh at.
I think because I interpret the question, I guess, as I don't watch a lot of horror films because maybe if you're going to more of because most of them I watch are usually trash or I'm not really a fan of the genre.
Jason X.
Then I think a movie like you know what, and It Follows is probably a good one to watch if you don't like horror movies. I mean, if you want to think, don't watch It Follows because that's the wrong kind of movie to watch. You want to think. Yeah. But if we're talking about recent examples, I keep going back to The Conjuring, but that's a great example to use. It's a fantastic movie.
Maybe I think the Babadook might be a bit extreme for a first.
Yeah, Babadook's pretty intense. I say as I have a closet full of clothes in front of me. Thanks, Sean.
And also, I've got the Babadook book is going to be arriving in my mailbox in the next couple of days. Signed by the director Jennifer Kent.
Now I'm on. Hashtag Jennifer Kent for. Hashtag Kent
Miss Marvel.
Miss Marvel, yeah. Oh man, that way we can get Effie Davis to play a role. She can be like the villain or something. She's in Game of Thrones, by the way. Bandit, the one from the Babadook, isn't she? She plays that actress that Arya befriends.
That Arya did.
Right on.
Give the poison to. Yeah, that's right. I'd recommend for people who don't normally watch it, maybe Scream, the first one, because that's a slasher, but it's also a little bit of a mystery. It's also got a little bit of comedy in it. It's also got a little bit of sort of like teen romance in it. So that way, if they're not usually into horror movies, it's kind of got enough other stuff there. It's also a bit of a whodunit.
Yeah.
I reckon that'd probably be a good way for them to start.
Yeah, I think Cabin in the Woods might be a good one too. That because
that'd be good. Yeah.
Cabin in the Woods, you kind of have to appreciate horror more. Like,
but I
maybe
think
make it the 10th horror film you see.
Well, Cabin in the Woods works because it's able to take something that, especially to answer the question of, I'm not a big fan of the genre because there aren't a lot of good movies like that out. Like, there aren't a lot of good horror films out. I think Cabin in the Woods is a great one to show people like that because it's saying, this movie, this incredibly generic and bland plot is without giving anything away. It's the point of Cabin in the Woods. So that it's like, without giving anything away, and don't watch the trailer either if you know what I'm talking about. Just because it's a movie that, granted, it's nicer to have appreciation for the genre, but I think it's also kind of works as a good introduction to the genre. And like I said, it's like a crash course on the history of horror films, if you will, which is a lot what Scream is as well. I guess that's a good double feature. Scream and Cabin.
I think one good way to get into horror could be watching horrors that are blended with other genres. Like, not just horror comedy with, like, Shaun of the Dead or Zombieland, but maybe horror sci-fi, like The Terminator or Alien.
Zombieland is so good.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, man. I'm sorry. I'm listening. That's a good movie.
But like Terminator and Alien could be considered horror films.
Oh yeah, Alien's a great one to go for, especially like if you want like the creepier atmospherics, the more claustrophobic as well. Jaws is another good horror film. It's more of a monster movie, but I think Jaws works. Like I said, Bandit back when I first saw Jaws, is a genuinely terrifying film in some respects. That part where we barely see the shark out the water when it's getting that guy at the beach, that part gets me every time. Like, ugh.
Yeah.
Maybe Poltergeist.
You know what? I think Trilbee might have just won. I think both versions of Poltergeist are great first horror movies. I think if you're a little kid, Poltergeist is a good horror film to watch. It's just tame enough, I think, for little kids to watch. Yeah, I think that's a good answer, Trilbee. Good job. Have you seen the remake of Poltergeist?
It's on my head to watch this because I'm told it's actually pretty good.
It's pretty good. I think once again, I think it's a good horror from people who don't like horror movies.
American Psycho.
Hey, Paul. Yeah, no. Oh, man.
I just love that there's that scene that's so meta where Christian Bale caves in Jared Leto's head with an axe. So you've got the future Batman caving in the future Joker's head. I just love the meta-ness of that.
I love like the little dance he does. He's walking around, just
he's
really
dancing around
moving to the beat. Oh man.
And he's just hiding the axe behind him, no matter where he goes.
And just slams it into his face. Yeah.
Got a question here from Da Germinator. And I think it's the only one here that's not sort of horror movie related. He says, if you had to switch one Marvel character to the DC universe, and vice versa, one DC character to the Marvel universe, what two characters would that be and why? Brackets, not really a movie question, but just in general, I suppose, for everything. Well, I would definitely want to move the Ben Affleck, Zack Snyder Batman into the Marvel universe, just because that'd be hilarious to see how he goes.
You kind of already have that, though.
No one
depressing in
the Marvel universe.
No. It's just the Punisher with more gadgets.
Yeah, but that's Netflix. We're talking movie cinematic universe.
No, it's the same. It's the same thing.
No, it isn't.
It's all the same. It's all the same universe.
Oh, but that's all right. Well, that totally takes the fun out of it. Then, okay, so I guess that wouldn't work.
I'm sorry. Adhering to the rules of a cinematic universe takes the fun out of your fantasy. I apologize, Bandit. I apologize that you broke the rules of Marvel Cinematic Universe. That's my bad.
I think he means
I want to see.
He's talking about the movies.
I want to see Paul. If we are going with the movies.
Related. Sorry,
fine. If we're going with the movies, I want to see Paul Rudd's Ant-Man in the DC Cinematic Universe because he'd just be there saying, "Guys, lighten up."
He would have so much fun. Oh my god! I can just imagine him like in the room with Batman's like killing a bunch of people, just like, "Oh my! I think you killed that guy." He's just up there.
Ant-Man is in every scene of Dawn of Justice.
I'd like to see.
He's just hidden away. He's just tucked in the corner.
I'd like to see Thor in the DC universe, but specifically the Thor from the that YouTube video where he's hanging out in Australia during Civil War. Specifically that Thor. As part of the Justice League, that'd be great.
Send the Raven.
I was
Tell me,
speaking with Bruce Wayne.
Do you bleed? Look, here's Mania.
He seems rather violent, actually. Yes, taking it out. He seems to be a little violent. Yes, and that Superman, the clock fella, he never smiles. Doesn't really want to have fun anymore. He's always something about Martha. I don't know what that means. Yeah.
Daryl, what do you think?
He breaks Daryl with him over. Yes.
I think they're a package deal now.
Yeah, they're a package deal now. If Daryl doesn't have a cameo in Thor Ragnarok, I'm done. He has to. At this point, they have to have him in there somewhere. He's got to have like a cameo.
They'll probably do that too. They probably will do that at some point.
If I think. Now that I know just how clever Taika Waititi is as a filmmaker, like especially what he can do with Thor now, absolutely. I'm really pumped for Thor Ragnarok. Oh man.
But also, in answer to this question, I would like to see Superman in the Marvel universe. I don't care what version, just because Superman versus Hulk. He's so good. Superman versus Hulk. I don't care if he's the movie.
Bump that. just to get a lighthearted Superman would be awesome. I just want to get Superman that's like, I want to feel the same amount of emotion and joy that I felt in Man of Steel when Superman was flying for the first time. That's the only point in this universe where I felt Superman was a genuine happy person. And after that, it's back to brooding and being depressed and life's too hard. I'm like, come on, man. Oh,
Yeah,
God,
even if he is brooding, if you just put him in that universe, he'd seem happier, just because everyone around him is happier. It'd rub off on him.
Everything around him is so colorful and bright. Man. I mean, because that's all Bucky really does. All Bucky does is brood, but he still has a good time. Man.
Yeah, even he has a laugh.
I don't know how to become a... Oh, yeah. Yeah, like, whenever... Can you move your seat up? No. I got to sit over the car.
You couldn't have done that earlier? I hate you.
God, those two are great in that movie.
Oh, yeah, and then when Captain America's kissing Agent 13, and he just cuts to them just nodding and smiling.
But he's in that
They're just
smug
like,
look.
yeah.
And then when Falcon's in the car with Black Panther's like, so you like cats? It's like, what? I mean, do you dress up like a cat? You don't want to know more? I love Falcon in that movie. Oh, man. That's a good movie. Oh, me and Bandit were talking about that, Trilbee. Do you want to do a Civil War commentary for when Doctor Strange comes out? We were thinking about
would I?
Yeah, so we were thinking about that. So just keep that right for now.
So you don't want to do the Benedict Cumberbatch episode before Doctor Strange?
No, I mean, we can. We could just take... I mean, we can. We can just, it could be like a separate thing. I don't know. I just had a theory. It doesn't have to be a part. It doesn't have to be the actual podcast. It can just be us doing a commentary of the film.
Yeah. I'd be up for that, yeah.
Right.
I think I remember we did a vote at some point whether people wanted us to do a regular episode or a commentary, and nobody wanted us to do a commentary.
Well, this doesn't have to be released as the official episode of the podcast. It can be a side thing.
Yeah.
Who cares what the people think?
But it's like
I surely don't.
we have already done, like, we did do an episode on Civil War when it came out, so why not do a commentary as well? Like, that'd be fine too. Yeah. Yeah, that's what
exactly.
Cash Tomato was
I
saying.
wasn't there for that, so I was able to. That way I can come in. We can all just have our thoughts and talk about everything that I like, and I can defend Zemo for being a fantastic villain that I think he is. Yeah. Anyways, I think there's one more question here I'd like to answer, which is from Seb Petey. He asks, "What other animated shows do you think deserve a movie?" Yeah,
animated shows.
Like your Simpsons, or not like a Simpsons got a movie. You know what I'm saying? For example, what animated show would you like to see get a movie?
Well,
I mean, I have my answer.
I would like another Simpsons movie. Like, I'd take another Simpsons movie. That'd be good.
Simpsons movie's pretty funny, dude.
It is. It's great. Yeah.
Pray to the mounderful penis. That's a good movie. My filter over again. There it is. I'm so sorry. At least 18 times this podcast.
Let's see. What's another?
I'm trying to think of a show that would benefit from the additional running time. Like, I think something like Bob's Burgers. It works if it's serialized.
Yeah.
But Archer. Up the budget.
I don't love Archer. I don't know. I know a lot of people do. I can't get behind it. I think there are some funny episodes. I can't sit down and just be like, yeah, let's watch some Archer. You know what I'm saying? I don't know.
You know what?
Sorry, Trilbee.
Johnny Bravo.
You know something?
Yes, The Rock.
The Rock, Johnny Bravo. Yeah. Yes.
It pretty much guaranteed they would ruin it, but I'd like to see a movie of One Punch Man. That'd be good.
I've never seen One Punch Man. So
live action or animated?
Like, well, that's an animated. If they were to make like a live action out of that, hang on, let me see what's the question. Was he specifying it has to be an animated movie or it's a live action?
I mean, I guess it can be live action, but I think he was giving an example like South Park or The Simpsons.
Oh, okay.
The South Park movies.
So if the same people who made One Punch Man, the TV show, also made a movie, then yeah, I'd absolutely be on board with that.
Yeah.
But if it was live,
you know what I'm really excited
for? It. Yeah.
Give me a Rick and Morty movie. I like Rick and Morty's already so great, and get those guys, like, you give them the budget of them, like, that can be, they can make a big, like, they can somehow make it about movies in some way, and but my inner child wants if you guys ever seen the show Adventure Time, like, that's a legitimately incredible show that has kind of gone off the rails and just kind of figured out. But in its prime, that was a really amazing show, and I think that would work awesome as a movie. Also, give me another.
Could we try Avatar again?
I was going to say, let's try Avatar again. Actually, as a filmmaker, that's my dream project, is to do the Avatar movie. So let's leave that alone for a bit. Let's give it some time. I don't know. I'm worried that like Steven Spielberg was like, yeah, I'll do the Avatar movie. I'm like, darn. Oh well, that's ruined my chances. No one's going to do Spielberg's Avatar.
The pressure will be on though, because if you made it and it didn't work, like 2 movies that don't work in a row, then everyone will be like, he's the guy who permanently ruined any chance of getting a good Last Airbender.
my career would be over.
But hey, you got to roll the dice. You got to take a chance somewhere. So
I think if I stay faithful enough, and I know exactly what. Here's my thing, Trilbee. Right, here's you. Right, movie 2. Right, do you cut out the swamp? The season. Have you seen the second season of Avatar?
I have. I don't remember the swamp. So yeah, cut it.
Yes, you cut the swamp, don't you? Thank you, please. I've gotten so many arguments with my friends about this. I'm like, you cut out the swamp. They're like, no, you don't. I'm like, yes, cut out the swamp because you don't need the swamp. You leave in the desert, you leave in Boston, you cut the swamp. But that's another time for another. I can do a whole podcast about Avatar, turning that into a movie. Anyways, I think that's all the questions we have time to answer here. We've been going for a while.
We did have one from regular listener Jack Fitzpatrick, but sorry, Jack. It's a massive essay you've put in there. I was scanning through it before while the others were talking. I was trying to find a question, but sorry, it's just too big. You've asked too many questions there. I can't single one out. So
do we have a too long didn't read version?
Sorry?
Is there a too long didn't read version of his question?
Yes.
I don't know. Have a look for yourself. You'll see what I mean. It's a big question.
For future references, Mr. Fitzpatrick, what I recommend you do is, like, much like an essay has a thesis, just make sure your whole thing has a thesis, and at the start just say, here's what I'm going to be asking you. My question is, you know what I'm saying? Like, because I love what you write.
He does say that, but then he goes into an essay. But he's our regular listener. We've asked questions for Jack before. It's cool. I'm just letting you know, Jack, we didn't miss your question.
No.
It's just kind of
I read all the questions.
I think I could summarize the question if you still want to go for it.
Okay.
All right, let's go.
Okay, basically, people just think horror is a genre thing, and then there's going to be pants because it's all horror films are bad. Do you think that horror gets a bad rap from people before even giving it a chance, and if so, why?
Absolutely gets a bad rap because a lot of films that come out are trash. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, absolutely.
Is it a bad rap if a lot of the movies are trash? Then it's not a bad rap. It's just an earned bad reputation.
I think. That's an interesting point, but I think because for every good horror film that's out, there's like 2 of them that are trash. But I think there's enough gems in there. And I think the genre of horror itself is not the problem. It's just this recent spiel. I mean, there's always been bad horror films, but nowadays there's so many opportunities. Like 2016, the reason people are giving like movies like Lights Out, Conjuring 2, Don't Breathe, people are giving those movies such good praise is because those were 3 studio horror films that came out and legitimately surprised everybody by their great quality. Because typically a studio horror film, most horror films that everyone go out and see, the studio ones that they release in the theaters, are typically trash. But there are always great indie ones like a Hush or a Babadook. I'll give you a what's it called? What's that movie? The walking one, the walking monster. Why am I forgetting it?
It Follows.
Never mind. It Follows. There it is.
The Walking Monster.
What? The Walking Monster. I'll even give you that was like the indie horror films, the smaller horror films that kind of make it more the genre so great. It's like the sun is setting at my where I'm at right now, and so like I think a bird just flew past my window. It's like the shadows went across my room. For like 2 seconds, and I literally just like nearly like soiled myself.
It talking about follows you by the window.
Man, that I think it's living daylights out of me. I'm okay. Oh boy, lights. Hold on, my light's coming on. I'll be right back.
I think if there's one department where horror films need more recognition, it's come awards season, because you get great performances in great horror films, because that's a lot of like. You're constantly terrified on screen. That takes a lot out of an actor. You need terrific, like Yeah, like in Don't Breathe, if that does not get a sound nomination, I'm sorry, it doesn't matter who wins that actual Oscar because you did not actually beat the champ.
You're gonna love Hush. You're gonna love Hush then. Oh man, oh boy.
I think that James Wan needs to, like, one of his films needs a cinematography nomination at some point because of how well it's crafted. And I've got best and a makeup category. When was the last time a horror film was nominated for a makeup category? Even though that's where some of the best and most inventive work is happening.
Well, a lot of it's CG nowadays, unfortunately.
No, but it's every so often, like the Evil Dead remake. Like,
yes,
that was a literal kitchen sink of gore and blood and everything.
The best visual effects, like the visual effects doesn't have to mean CGI. Like the special effects on that Evil Dead, because a lot of it was done practically, and that Evil Dead remake is pretty intense.
And S.E. Davis gave easily the best performance of 2014 from a female actor, and just no recognition outside of the Australian.
It was Patricia Arquette won that year for Boyhood, didn't she? That was a pretty weak year for actresses. Yeah, that's why S.E. Davis, I think, should have gotten that nomination, and maybe even should have won.
Yeah, I think it's come awards season when they really need more recognition, especially in the technical category. But this is that they never nominated Captain America: The First Avenger for makeup, despite the Red Skull.
Yeah.
So,
this is why I think there should be like more awards added to the Oscars. I know people are like, don't make the show longer, but I'm like, documentary short can be cut. You know what I'm saying?
They don't need more awards. They just need to actually watch all of the films that come out. There are people who are literally paid to watch all of the films, and they don't do it.
Best choreography. Tell me why Winter Soldier has that award. You know what I'm saying? Like, best choreography, the Raid movies. You know, movies that, like, I think I love Kevin Smith's idea. He had this idea of, like, you know, in the same way the Golden Globes have drama and then they also have motion picture comedy. I think that you can have like 5 regular best pictures and then the best genre feature. That way, at least they get some kind of recognition at the Academy, because some of the best films that always come out every year are not your typical Oscar movies.
Well, back in the day, back in the olden times, the very first Academy Awards, there was no Best Picture award. It was let me see, because they changed the category after like 1 or 2 Oscars, where they gave it to like Best Production. Okay, here we go. There were 2 awards. One of them was Outstanding Picture, and one of them was Unique and Artistic Picture. Like, say, last year, Mad Max would have won Outstanding Picture because it was it was the biggest technical achievement, whereas maybe Spotlight or The Revenant would have won Unique and Artistic Picture. It's basically 2. There were 2 Best Picture
but
awards.
Whatever. Yeah, I know what you're saying.
So maybe they should bring that back. Like in 2009, Avatar and The Hurt Locker were the 2 frontrunners. If the Academy was still doing that 2-pronged approach, those 2 would have been the Best Picture winners.
Yeah, like Outstanding Movie of 2014. Like, you know, you could give Birdman some recognition for the artistic thing. Or some of the bigger films like your Guardians of the Galaxies and your Winter Soldiers for being some of the best technical films that year. Yeah.
Or like Gravity would have won the technical achievement.
Absolutely.
Or Hugo would have won that year because that won all the technical awards. Or Mad Max or The Martian. These genre films, that was basically what they used to do for the very first Academy Awards, or the first 2, I think.
They should go back to that. I'm down for that. I'm sorry, we kind of deviated from the question, but anyways, yes, that is essentially. In long form short, Mr. Fitzpatrick, that is what we answered your long form question. All right.
Keep them short.
And with that, I do think that's where we're going to end the show today. Thank you all for watching this lovely show, talking about some of our favorite horror films, answering your horror questions, and even going through some movie news, for better or for worse. Bandit, where can people find you?
Well, first, our weekly artist.
Oh, right. Whoops.
Thank you, our weekly artist, another anonymous one who wasn't able to send me back what name they want me to say thank you, but you could see the image on your screen right now is of the 3 of us. Trilbee, you're the Hulk in this one.
No, it's just my hands.
Yes.
I'm wearing those Hulk hands that you get from Toys R Us.
Yeah. I love this picture of us.
Well, presumably
really
all of us have toys then, so that's cool. That's fine.
Yes.
You've got toy guns, and Trey seems to have a real lightsaber, because look at that glow.
Yeah. I love that picture. I really do. I love the way I look as a Jedi, I'll be honest. Yeah, it really is. This wasn't part of the original contest, was it? This is one of the post-contest entries, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think this is one of the ones that missed out on the deadline, just short of the deadline. One of you guys picked this one. Was it you, Trey? Or?
Yeah, it was me for obvious reasons. I was even the lightsaber glows on my face. I look great in this picture. I'm not bald anymore, but whatever. Yeah,
that's how we all base our favorite ones on, just to how best our guy looks.
I love that Back to the Future one though. I don't know.
Yeah. So who caused the explosion that's behind us?
I think it's just a general movie explosion. See, we're all not looking at it because that's the rule.
Probably Bandit. Bandit. I feel like he's Bandit. I feel like someone said, I kind of hate Terminator. I feel like someone crapped in Terminator Genesis, and so Bandit's kind of lit the whole thing up. Bandit, where can people find you?
People can find me on YouTube and Facebook and Twitter as Bandit Incorporated. And Trilbee?
You can find me at my local toy store looking for Hulk hands. But after that, you can also find me on YouTube at Trilbee Reviews. You can find me on Twitter at Trilbee Reviews. You can find me. I've started up the Film Brits podcast again, so you can find me on YouTube at Film Brits. Just search Film Brits. It's on my Trilbee Reviews channel, or subscribe to me on iTunes. And it's also Patreon funded, so be sure to check that out. I massively appreciate it. And Trey.
So people can find me on the YouTube, Twitter, and Instagram, all at Podcast Media, playing with my lightsaber. Oh, that sounds dirty than I wanted to. Yep.
Time to watch Mr. Plinkett's Force Awakens review.
Yeah.
Yes, it is. That's a lightsaber app, by the way. I just found that. I have that on my phone. Yes, join us next week when we talk whatever it is we're talking about. Thank you once again. Time codes listed down below. Rate us on iTunes. Yes. And then catch you all later. Our movie maniacs.